fuck would they want? So stupid. I'm just looking at something here. Alright, so I'm just gonna get right into it today. I'm so tired of shit. I don't really plan on being here too long, especially since we all know I'm gonna be censored to bejesus and back, so seems kind of pointless. But I want to look up the history of Jesus. Jesus. Jesus, also referred to as Jesus Christ, Jesus of Nazareth, and many other names and titles, was a first century Jewish preacher and religious leader in the Roman province of Judea. Hang on. Oh, back. Sorry about that. So I really wanted to, let's do this. We'll send our invites to those who claim to like what we do. So, knowing that they don't get the invites until long after it's done, I thought I would send them the stuff while we just wait for more people to show up and argue stupid stuff because they're dumb. Man, I wish Carrie would show up. Let's see. Thaddeus. Jeffrey James. David Westwood. I see Felia Nia. Shenananan. Alright, that's enough. Karen, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hope all is well with y'all. Karen sent me a message the other day pointing something strange out that yeah, that was what it was. Yeah, the symbol is just the translation symbol, I guess. Kind of weird how it just started showing up and shit, but definitely a weird thing. He's a central figure of Christianity. Let me just say this again. Was the first century Jewish preacher and religious leader in the Roman province of Judea. I'm going to really try to stick with this today and not go into, go down the rabbit hole, so to speak, by clicking on different blue links that tell an older story. I'm just going to try to stick to it this time. It's hard. Chasing information. It's hard to stay on the one topic when all these other pieces of it matter so much. But Yawnathon, buckle up, guys. Meth head is on one again. It's pretty interesting. And a goofy ass pedophile gonna come in here crying about me. Because as always, it's not like they're come in here and say anything about we should kill pedos, we should eliminate Israel, they don't say anything like that. They just come in and apparently marvel at how rich I am. Because, man, if I was smoking meth, that would be expensive as shit, wouldn't it? Can't grow a proper beard, doesn't own any chairs. As far as beards go, I'm sure you're an expert on beards. But, again, I don't even know who you're talking to. Like, you're hoping you get some attention from other people, because you definitely don't want mine. And you're definitely not smart enough to engage in anything. So thank you for providing such a wonderful example of lipstick Mikey. Like, it's so weird. It's so strange that little dicks make white guys so mad and weird. Just weird. What is, like, I mean, I guess I get it. But it should actually, in the long run, show women that men do actually care, because they want something bigger than they have, because they don't like not satisfying you. So I guess at least there's that, right? Sorry about your little dick, Mikey. It will never grow. It will never grow. But, I always appreciate this, right? I always appreciate how stupid the average Christian is. Like, this dumb girl's in here talking about, I love you, Jesus, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just goes to show you how unbelievably stupid these people are. Like, at the very least, I'm talking about your Lord and Savior. Why aren't you more interested? Yeah, that's wild, especially when you get pieces of shit ad hominem to Jesus. But Jesus out of you, 3, 2, 1, back to the room. It's what they do. It's complete ad hominem. I haven't read that definition in a long time, but just think about this. This guy's arguments were, meth head is on one again. I can't grow a proper beard. I don't own chairs, and I'm talking rubbish. And now this other broad is talking about how I'm tweaking. So let's see. Let's just see what ad hominem is. I haven't read this in such a long time. Ad hominem, short for argumentum ad hominem, refers to several types of arguments where the speaker, where the commenter, attacks the character, motive, or some other attribute of the person making the argument rather than the substance of the argument itself. This avoids genuine debate by creating a diversion, often using a totally irrelevant, but often highly charged attribute of the opponent's character or background. The most common form of this fallacy is that person A, me, makes a claim of fact, to which person B, you, the dumb commenter, asserts that person A, me, has a personal trait, can't grow a beard, doesn't own chairs, this kind of shit. Personal trait, physical attribute, or quality that is repugnant, thereby going off topic, and hence person B, commenter, concludes that person A has their fact wrong without ever addressing the point of the debate. It's pretty. This refers to political strategy, but this is literally like, this goes in the book, right? This is part of the Secure Community Network, auto emancipation, manifesto. Islam essentially is way better than Christianity. It really truly is, as far as the beliefs go in I don't even know how to put it. Muslims are definitely more devout and more better at being Muslims than Christians are at Christians and Christianity. Ouch. But a lot of the tenets to Islam is a lot better than what Christianity offers. And then on the other hand, there's some really weird, fucked up shit. Guest last week, using the phrase about 3-4 times of ad hominem, telling them to stop it. Yep, they were frying. I mean, it's you know, for me, it's really strange. You know, there's this one guy on Facebook starts his video saying, "Wouldn't it be strange? Isn't it strange? News updates for real or something like that is his page. I don't remember what it is. It's got the weirdest fucking hair. Like, as far as a manufactured person goes, his hair is so strange. When he lets it grow out, it just completely distracts me. But he was, he's you know, he was saying that he has 1 million subscribers and that they're censoring him and he's only getting 100,000 views and all this shit. And I'm just thinking, like, dude, okay. And then they're much more faithful, fasting, women covering, falling on their faces, and yeah, it's fucking stupid. But they are more dedicated to their religion than Christians are. You know, Christians get told not to eat meat on Fridays, and they're like, "Nah, I can't do that." I'll do it one day. I'll do it one Friday. Strange that Pewits? I don't know what you mean. But, you know, these fake truthers are just everywhere. And it's so hard for me to watch these videos of them where they're talking about something that I've been talking about for years. And they're making it sound like it's a new discovery. Or they're even, you know, getting credit for it. You know, it's just crazy how they... The Hebrew hammer. Oh, Jesus. At least we know we have one person who watches Ben Shapiro. Seriously. Who do you think actually watches Ben Shapiro? Do you honestly think that there are white Christian Americans that watch Ben Shapiro? The flowers are dead. I think we can read religion teaches the common sense principles to be a good person. Why would you think agree on that? It teaches submission. It teaches, you know, complacency. It teaches people how to be good little slaves. I have no idea what you mean, good person. There's nothing, you know, I mean, there are some good pieces put into it, but it's all fucking stupid. It's all fucking stupid. And it teaches you, you know, how to be an obedient servant, not question things, fall in line, you know, say what you're supposed to say. Religion teaches shame and guilt. Exactly. By the way, if you're watching, don't forget to like, share, and sub. Shit helps out. I guess that's what they say. I don't fucking know. I don't know. But, you know, that's what everybody else says. So. Can't hurt, right? Don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, be good. Yeah, but it doesn't say that. And it says that you can do all of those things in the name of Jesus if that's what you're told to do. But the entire narrative is a lie. And it's about how the friars get to cheat to steal all of all of the favor that they so demand. That is the commandments of a Christian. No, it's not. No, you don't even know the 10 Commandments. None of you. George Carlin does a really good break of commandments, but it's really stupid. The Ten Commandments is funny because, again, most people can name like 3, maybe 4. The Bible teaches how to own slaves and how much a daughter is worth. Yeah. I don't know that verse. But it's literally it's stupidity. It's teaching you to worship Jewish nonsense. Literal just nonsense, like made up fairy tale nonsense, and you know it is because if anybody else says the same shit, like Muslims say basically the same thing, you think they're fucking crazy. If you liked my video, it's not showing up. Interestingly. Just like I'm sure there are more people here than 5. You know? This is what censorship looks like. To have the dude talk about his 1 million subscribers and he's only getting 1,000 views or 100,000 views and he's barely making the really good living that he makes off of this is just a joke. It's a joke. This is what true censorship looks like. And, 6 months ago, when I was allowed to have as many as 40,000 views, I was telling you guys, there's no way this continues. They're going to shut this shit down. And literally the day after Charlie got Kirk, they shut this shit down. And seriously, anybody that's a Charlie Kirk supporter, you can eat a whole bag of dicks as well. Hi. What you doing? Not you, her. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. You guys want to see the cutest thing you've ever seen? What is it, little girl? Oh, what is it? What is it? Oh, aren't you just adorable? Yes, you already know it. What you doing? I'm being cute. Don't you want to pet me? Don't you want to pet me? I'm so cute. Don't you want to pet me? I'm so cute. Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh. Oh, that's a baby. See? It's such a distraction. Anyway. She's being so cute right now. Anyway, but here, the point of today is to learn. So let's learn. Let's learn the official narrative. It's like it's so windy outside. It's crazy. So as I'm going to just repeat over and over again, Jesus was a first-century Jewish preacher and religious leader in the Roman province of Judea. He is the central figure of Christianity, the world's largest religion. Apparently, somehow, Christianity is the world's largest religion. Not sure when that happened. Virtually all Christians consider Jesus to be the incarnation of God the Son and awaited Messiah, or Christ, a descendant from the Davidic line that is prophesied in the Old Testament. That's what I was reading yesterday. That was as far as I got in the Jesus narrative. Because I got to this Davidic line and I was like, what the fuck is the Davidic line? I mean, it's hard to keep going without going into that. What is this Davidic shit? But I'm going to keep going. Virtually all modern scholars of antiquity agree that Jesus existed historically Really? The history of Jesus' debate on the fringes of scholarship and in popular culture regarding whether Jesus historically existed or was a purely mythological figure. Mainstream New Testament scholarship ignores the non-existence hypothesis and its arguments, as the question of historicity was generally settled in scholarship in the early 20th century, and the general consensus among modern scholars is that a Jewish man named Jesus of Nazareth existed in the Herodian kingdom of Judea, and the subsequent Herodian tetrarchy. I don't know, tetrarchy? Tetrarachy. I don't know what that word is. In the 1st century AD, upon whose life and teachings Christianity was later constructed. However, scholars distinguish between the Christ of faith as presented in the New Testament and the subsequent Christian theology, and a minimal Jesus of history of whom almost nothing can be known. Let's see. They believe Jesus and God are separate. A lot of Christians argue Jesus and God are the same, but if he was the same person, why would Jesus be on a cross screaming, God, God, are you forsaking me? If he is God, he knows. Why would he talk to himself if they weren't separate beings? Because everything is God, according to your bullshit. God is in everything, everywhere, at all times. So the narrative is that God wanted to experience, this is what they say, God wanted to experience what this life was like, what that particular situation was, so he made it. Like, it's so stupid. It really is stupid. I'm just it's so hard. There's no scholarly consensus concerning the historicity of most elements of Jesus' life as described in the Bible, and only 2 key events of the biblical story of Jesus' life have been widely accepted as historical based on the criterion of embarrassment, namely his baptism by John the Baptist and his crucifixion by the order of Pontius Pilate. Though even the baptism narrative has been questioned. Furthermore, the historicity of supernatural elements like his purported miracles and resurrection are deemed to be solely a matter of faith or of theology, or lack thereof. The Christ myth theory, developed in 19th century scholarship and gaining popular attraction since the turn of the 20th century, is the view that Jesus is purely a mythological figure and that Christianity began with belief in such a figure. Proponents use a threefold argument developed in the 19th century: that the New Testament has no historical value with respect to Jesus's existence, that there are no non-Christian references to Jesus from the 1st century, and that Christianity and Christianity had pagan or mythical roots. Yeah, that's basically how it works. I mean, I just don't understand what people hold on to here. Even though it's a fictional story, Jehovah's Witnesses have it right. Oh yeah, they do. With their 144,000 spots in heaven. And again, happens with Noonie House. Oh, I got you, Karen. You know I can't let you slide. Of anybody, you are not allowed to slip up like that. I am sorry, but Noonie, come on. I'll go heads with Noonie Ted. And definitely I'm going to get you, Karen. Oh, you're a Jehovah? Jehovah's Witnesses do use New World Translation. So I used to chase the Jehovah's away. I was always mean to them. to the point where my house got put on the list of people who don't want to hear the good news. So I, and one day, I just had sort of a change of heart. I grew. And that's funny. And I realized, these people are just victims. All these door-to-door Jehovah's are just victims. And so I decided, I want to know what they have to say. I want to hear from them. And they always travel in groups. And so one day, I saw them coming down the street, and it was two older ladies, an older gentleman. I thought both the ladies were black, and then a black man around my age, and then a younger black guy, in his 20, he's the muscle. So I get a table out, I get some cold waters, and I set them out, and as they come up, I say, hey, I know I'm on the list, but I want to hear what you have to say. Had a lot going on in my life lately, and hey, maybe this is an option for me, so I want to hear what you have to say. So they were real skeptical, but they were like, well, let us finish knocking the street, a couple more houses down, and then we'll come back. And I kind of didn't think they would come back. But they walked down, and then the man and the 20-year-old, they come up. And, I had my phone going. It only lasted for 45 minutes or something like that. They ended up staying 2+ hours. But it only, my phone only lasted for about 45 minutes. But they, and for all I know, that shit's gone anyway. They, we got to talking about it. And, to me, the older guy kept saying how he used to be like me, and he was wild. He was living a wild and crazy life until he got saved. And this dude was gay. He kept saying it, and he wasn't talking about how he used to do drugs or he used to do this. He just kept saying he lived a sinful life. He lived a sinful life. And at one point, his white wife and halfy kid, who was clearly gay himself, came up to see if everything was okay. And she was, she was the definition of a beard. If you would have told me that she was a lesbian, or told anybody that she was a lesbian, they would have agreed, oh yeah, that's obvious, right? And you would have thought for sure that he was gay. And somehow they forced themselves to have sex with each other and popped out a kid. But there were multiple times throughout the conversation where just crazy shit was said. At one point, I said, so you believe Noah's Ark and all that, right? And of course. And then so we talked about, because everybody makes fun of what happened beforehand, but nobody talks about what happened afterward. And I said, so so you believe that black people in general come from Arabs reproducing? And this motherfucker said, well, you know what happens when family members, procreate? And I was like, wait a minute, dude, are you saying that black people are the retarded offspring of Arabs? And that somehow they made two of these little black retarded babies and then shipped them off to Africa, where they somehow learn to exist and create kingdoms and mores and take over and all this. You believe that? Like, it was just so shocking how dumb they were. And I brought up the firmament. And I was, so you believe in space and shit, right? Well, yeah, of course. And it was, what about the firmament? And they were like, what? What are you talking about? It's like the firmament, the first thing your God does after it turns on the light. You guys are going door to door begging for people to talk religion with you, and you don't even know about the firmament. And so the younger guy, he pulls out his phone and he looks it up and he's like, oh yeah, firmament appears 17 or 11, can't remember what it was, but umpteen times in the Bible. I was like, yeah, it really does. And so then we started talking about what version they use, and they were talking about how they knew they used the new world translation. I said, all right, well, who translated it? And they said, oh, well, the elders. I said, do you know these elders? Well, yeah, no, I know them. I said, you know them, you can talk to them. Well, no, I mean, I've met one of them I was at a place one time where one of them was at. I saw them. Like, so you don't know them at all. You don't know their agenda. Do you know how they got to the translation they got to? Like, how did they get to those conclusions that this would be the translation? And again, they were just sort of shook. And I was like, look, is there any way you guys could get somebody who is, no offense, but who is more knowledgeable than you are to come talk to me? Because that would be really great, And they were like, of course, yeah, of course. I'm sure we have some elders that would take up this challenge and would love to come talk to you. And I'm like, all right, cool, let me get your numbers. And I texted them, and they texted me, and we exchanged, so we knew we had the text, and and then they had to go. I mean, it was 2.5 hours later or some shit. So I was so shocked that they even took the time to do that. Like, I was appreciative of that. And I hugged them when I left. We hugged, and I was like, I really look forward to, meeting you again. And I kept saying to the younger guy, you are better than this. There's a reason why I'm making so much sense to you. And you're having a real hard time with this right now. And it's because deep down, I'm right. As a black person, you have absolutely no business believing in this nonsense. Who wants to do Jehovah's Witnesses after we do this? Ooh, I do. I just, for me, Jehovah's Witnesses play such a small part in the big story. I don't like wasting time on it. And that's my biggest thing with all of it. I realize that there are all sorts of little tiny pieces, but do they really mean anything? No. People are a product of their environment for the most part. Well, that doesn't explain me. I grew up in the exact same environment that everyone else did. So what the fuck went wrong? Why didn't all of the same usual programming stick with me? Yes, you're there. So crazy. Look at this much. Holy shit, it's fucking cool. Oh my god. I was gonna show you a little more, but it's too cold for that shit. Jehovah's Witnesses are very good people. No, they're not. They're dumb little slaves. Exception to the rule. No, not. There are plenty of people like me out there. But there definitely is something different. And I wish I knew what that was. Because there is no, unlike all of you who will say things like, oh, well, I had this change, or I did this. I was by myself from birth. Regarding this shit. Like, my dad believes in God. My dad doesn't believe in religion, but he believes in God. And so when I would, and my dad was like everything to me. Like I was, he couldn't do wrong in my eyes. So it was very disheartening when I would hear him say that to me, because I wouldn't know how to take the conversation any further. Did they ever get someone more knowledgeable about your subject? And that was no. Not only did they never do that, they'd never come back. I chased them away, and they would come back year after year around the same time, twice a year maybe. And they would walk by the house, and I would yell at them and shit. But they would come back every year. What stopped them was when I shook them. Because I can only imagine what those two came back saying to their group, to their leaders, to their elders, especially that youngster. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost him. I was raised Catholic and never took to it. Still can't believe that expression about black people. Yeah, that's fucking insane, isn't it? A black guy said that shit. It was so weird. I just looked at him like, are you kidding me? So anyway, let's get back to it. Sorry, let's get back to it. I am interested in what this has to say, though. Proponents of the threefold argument developed. The idea that Jesus was purely a mythical figure has a fringe status, support in critical circles or critical studies for more than a century, and had no support, with such theories going without recognition or serious engagement, which is just strange, right? Because it's like, if it's wrong, then just take a half hour and debunk it. Present all of your best evidence, and if you have true evidence, then there is no argument. It's just what it is. The reason they do it is that they're taught to spread the word of God, but to not cause conflict. But they don't spread the word of God. Jehovah's spread the word of their local guy. Jehovah's spread the word of the local comic book that month or whatever, that watchtower. I was shocked by how little biblical shit the Jehovah's knew. You're saying you've been in this for 15 years and you were raised in it, and neither one of you recognized the word firmament? It's the very first thing your God does after it turns on the light. And I say it turns on the light because that's what it does. It didn't make the sun and the moon until day 4. So how do you even have days and nights without the sun and the moon to begin with? Other than the fact that time is actually a measurement. Time has nothing to do with the earth going around the sun and all that other shit. Time is a measurement. It's like inches, feet, it's an exact measurement. Seconds are like, inches. There are 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in this cycle that we're in. But that is mathematic. That is precise. That doesn't change. Just because you leave the earth, they say that thing where if you left the earth, you would come back and everyone would be older than you. And they say, like, the astronauts that have stayed up in space, they come back down and everyone is actually 0.000.0021% older than them. It's fucking stupid. I don't think, man made the clock to account for it. Get it? Account. But it's more like, the archaeological thing. It's like me writing my songs. You're just pushing the shit away, and it's there. It's there. You just have to discover it. It's not a creation, so to speak. The days of the weeks and all that, the days of the months, or the days of the week and months and years, all that shit is made up nonsense. But time itself is an exact measurement. Oh, look, we have somebody come through that says something stupid. Christ is king. Imagine that, right? Like, can you imagine that? Can you imagine being so stupid that you feel the need to say something, but you can't even make your own sort of words come out? So you just pull the string on your back and you're, Christ is king. You know? Can you imagine being that stupid? That's such a weird thing to me. I would never get into a conversation with someone, especially a debate, and I don't have anything other than a couple of pull core things to say. Like, what kind of stupidity is that? It's so weird. It's the truth, and the truth hurts for some. Like, what is, like, it's, again, it's so weird. Like, they immediately do these little, like, you know, sort of backhanded, oh, it hurts, the truth. What part about this truth are you talking about that hurts so much? I don't even understand what that argument has said to me. Was I going, ow, Christianity hurts me so much, ow? But that wasn't happening, was it? But see, this is what I mean. Like, that's just another pull cord. You know, the truth hurts sometimes. That's not even your own words. You're literally just repeating something somebody else said. This is some NPC bullshit. And I find it so strange. You know? It just shows that you're like, you're just incapable, right? Look at how pressed you are. Yeah, look at that. I'm pressed. Again. And then you have to like lie to yourself to, because this isn't how like people that actually have an argument, this isn't what they do. They're not always looking for, oh, look, see, oh, you think that? If you're right, you know your information, your argument will do the talking. Right? You don't have to come up with dumb shit and you know. Yes, I'm out of breath. Look at how out of breath I am. See what I mean? Like, it's just so crazy. You know, this is an. They don't go to ask away. Let me here. I want to answer your questions. I want to help bring you into the fold. You know, like I'm supposed to. I want to answer all your questions because Jesus is the truth and the light and you know, bring it. Come on, let's help you get there, buddy. That's never how the Christian is. This is just the stupidity that they do, and it's I appreciate it so much because it's one thing for me to claim that they do this shit. It's another thing when they're here doing it and you can see it for yourself. Look at how stupid they are. I just can't imagine being that stupid and wanting to be put into the spotlight. You know, like it's one thing if you accidentally get called on. You're at you're at some sort of conference and you get called on and you don't actually know what's going on, but oh, okay, let me see what I give you my best response. Instead, these guys are like, ooh, ooh, ooh. They're the kid holding there. Ooh, 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 ooh. Call me. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, 'cause I'm stupid. And you just go, wow, dude, why would you want to bring that spotlight upon yourself? All he said was king. Exactly. And now we're gonna play the victim. Now we're gonna play. I don't. What do you? All I said was this. All I said was come push my crazy religious nonsense on you. What? What? That's all I did. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. And this it's like to anybody that's on the fence, right? To anybody that's in that, they're trying to figure shit out. Just look. Why doesn't the person that's so arrogant that they're going to announce themselves with their bullshit? why doesn't that person have more to say? Why don't they have any sort of intelligence to bring to the conversation? Why do you read what they write or hear what they write and go, oh, Jesus, make a better argument, dude? At this point, you put yourself in the position to represent Christianity. You came in here with your Christian bullshit. Do a better job, man. Do a better job. I know, if I say he's unhinged, that'll work, right? Because again, somebody else's bullshit. Calling somebody unhinged is one of the new things. So again, this person literally cannot make their own arguments. What kind of God leaves you to fucking flounder like this and look like an idiot? Why don't you take, 20 seconds, pray to get your little prayer going, ask God to give you some better insight because you look really stupid right now. Why don't you try that? Obviously, you're not capable of making any sort of intelligent arguments. But all they did was plant the key. Exactly. And this is, I appreciate you being here. So let's move past this because I feel like I'm picking on the special kid. I don't like doing that. Academics from the idea that Jesus was purely mythical figure. Academics' efforts from multiple fields in biblical studies to determine facts of Jesus' life have been refined through an ongoing quest for the historical Jesus, that's a blue thing, and several criteria of authenticity are used in evaluating the authenticity of elements of the gospel story. The criterion of multiple attestation, multiple attestation is used to argue that attestation by multiple independent sources confirms his existence. What? Multiple people can attest to it. The criterion of multiple attestation, also called, is a tool used by biblical scholars to help determine whether their actions or sayings by Jesus in the New Testament are from the historical Jesus. Simply put, the more independent witnesses that report an event or saying, the better. The criterion was first developed by F.C. Burkitt in 1906 at the end of the first quest for the historical Jesus. You should try answering the call of St. John. Jesus, look at how stupid this is. It's clearly clouding your mind. You're struggling to read. Yes, look at me struggling to read words that, literally are only, apply to biblical shit. So attestation is not a fucking word that everybody uses every day. But here we go with some more ad hominem, because you literally can't argue against anything being said. Of course he's without sin. Of course he's without sin. They're just so stupid. I just, keep going, dude. Keep pointing it out. Is a word that is used. Attestation is a word that is used in. That is used. Sure. Right. Literally, attestation to help determine actions or sayings by Jesus specifically. People are always talking about, yeah, my attestation to this, my attestation to that. Yeah, we see that word all the time. Again, this is just the desperate, actions of some stupid ass. Right? Oh, now he's judging. He's being all judgy because I'm imbibing in a plant that your God made, right? God made it. Instead of using any sort of pharmaceuticals for the crazy pain, I use the plant. But, when you want a way out, you find a way out. Right? This is your average Christian male. Right? He is just too dumb to actually function properly. So it's just like this short down, this short circuit over and over again, where they just, they can't actually make any arguments to back up what they believe. Like, this guy is a fucking homophobe, but he can't tell you why. He can't even tell you why he's a Christian. He can't even argue anything reasonable. But the main thing, again, like all you Christians, none of you can even say why you are one. And it's this weird thing where it's like, it's a pretty simple question, and yet they'll act like you're asking them for some quantum physics and shit, some rocket math, some rocket surgery, right? Well, yes, listen to yourself think. I love it, man. There are at least 14 independent sources for the historicity of Jesus from multiple authors within a century of the crucifixion of Jesus, such as the letters of Paul, contemporary of Jesus, who personally knew eyewitnesses since the mid-30s AD, who personally knew other people. Oh, it's all so dumb, man. It's fucking simple. The Gospels and biographies of historical people, similar to Xenophon's Memories of Socrates, man, and non-Christian sources such as Josephus, the Jewish historian and commander of Galilee, and Tacitus, Roman historian and senator. Multiple independent sources affirm that Jesus actually had family. Scholars regard the question of historicity as generally settled in the early 20th century, and scholars agree that a Jewish man named Jesus of Nazareth existed in the Herodian kingdom of Judea in the 1st century AD. Since the 18th century, 3 separate scholarly quests for the historical Jesus have taken place, each with distinct characteristics and based on different research criteria, which were often developed during that phase. Modern scholarly research on historical Jesus focuses on what is historically probable or plausible about Jesus. Literally none of it. It's dumb. Jesus' death and resurrection seem to have been part of one of the oldest credos as given by Paul. There is no scholarly consensus concerning most elements of Jesus' life as described in the Christian and non-Christian sources. Reconstructions of the historical Jesus are broadly debated for their reliability, and only 2 events of this historical Jesus have been subject to almost universal assent, namely that Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist and was crucified by the order of the Roman Prefect Pontius Pilate, who officiated from 26 to 36 AD, though even the baptism narrative has been questioned. Of course it has been. It's fucking stupid. Like, this is just embarrassing. This is so stupid. Lightfoot professor of divinity James Dunn stated that these 2 facts rank so high on the almost impossible to doubt or deny scale of historical facts that they are obvious starting points for an attempt to clarify the what and why of Jesus' mission. And see, this is what you get so often. right, is you'll get this thing where they say, oh, it's just so everybody already agrees. So we don't even, there's no point in even looking into it because people have already agreed to it. And it's like, yeah, that's not how things work. You know, just because people have already agreed to a bad idea doesn't make a bad idea a good idea. And yet, like, you see this really consistently. You've seen it multiple times in this already, where instead of providing any sort of actual argument one way or another, hang on a second. Like the kid, the teacher. Yeah, again, it's funny because I would love to see any of you go live and read shit you haven't read before that is using words and talking about times. Like, go read some biblical stuff. Go read the same things I'm reading. I would love to see you do it in a live setting and not make any mistakes because you're so good at everything. How come if you're so good at this, you watch me every day? Why don't I watch you? Wouldn't that make more sense? You're the ones that have it all figured out. You never make any mistakes. So why don't you just go live and create your own, your own narrative? I mean, that would be amazing, right? I don't want you every day. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Most of the time, the lives, you'll watch the lives. But if you can't watch the live, then you'll watch it later. And you lying only proves my point even further. But this is the same kind of bullshit you see all the time. And the difference between me correcting your stupid third grader grammar because you can't get your right or your there right in a comment that you literally typed out and then looked at it and thought, okay, this looks good, and then click enter, like it's pretty significantly different. But you see what you, and then just type it out. Like it would be a much different situation. I definitely wouldn't make any sort of grammatical. I wouldn't make any of those mistakes. Anyway. Obvious starting point. Okay. Based on the criterion of embarrassment, scholars argue that the early Christian church would not have invented the painful death of their leader. Why? It's done what it was supposed to do. The best way to get people to sympathize is to create a sympathy story. You create the persecution story. Look what literally, I saw a video today where they were talking about how over 1 billion people worldwide have posted something about the Palestinians. And no other cause has even come close to this universal condemnation of what's happening to the Palestinians. It's the largest cause in the world. It's the most important it's the most important thing in the world right now. And that goes against what we're supposed to do and say and think. This is along with the threats and along with the lies and all that. And that's, when you're presented with lies, eventually it falls apart. Whether it's your a large scale narrative that they're telling us, or it's your Nick Fuentes, or it's your dumbass trolls on here. Eventually they just fall apart. The most important thing in our world is actually our Lord. So stupid. Yes, the most important. Like, think about how, like, if you want to control a bunch of really stupid people, and you can't physically do it, getting them to believe that the most important thing in their real-time, real-world life is some Jewish man who apparently, we don't really know, but died around 2,000 years ago. This guy is arguing that the most important thing in the world is not the stopping of the genocide, the slaughter of the Palestinians, the starving of the people, of the children, not all of the rape, child rape that goes on in the church, not all all the shit with Trump. How Trump is even still anything is just beyond me. I watched a guy get arrested today on a video because he was registered and one of his neighbors pulled the police and said, "Hey, I saw him talking to a 10-year-old." And it was that enough. That was enough to get this man arrested. And yet Trump is still doing his thing. There you go. You have Mackenzie literally saying that they are a proud pedophile. Capital P for very proud. Do you guys see that? That is somebody who is acknowledging that they are a pedophile. Seriously. Because if you look at that comment, it comes out of left field, right? There's no real, what does he mean? What are they talking about? I'm telling you, that is a pedophile. Someone who fucking deals in child exploitation materials and human trafficking. It's shocking. It's shocking that somebody can be so open about being a pedophile and there's no repercussions for it. And me, I say we kill them all. No second chances, no nothing. Especially somebody along this line who's bragging about it. And if anybody can find out who that person is, by all means, I encourage you to bring violence upon them. This is a pedophile. I just can't even, if you don't feel the same way I do, I question your motives. Anyway, let's go back to this bullshit that you guys are this pedophile bullshit. The Baptism of Jesus by Juan Fernandez Navarrete from the 16th century. Oh, yes, that's a thing. It's so stupid. It's just so stupid. Scholars vary in their classification of the criterion of embarrassment, either treating it as a subject of the criterion or dissimilarity or treating it as its own criterion. The criterion of embarrassment is also used to argue in favor of the historicity of the baptism of Jesus. Historicity. Yeah. Given that John baptized for the remission of sins, although Jesus was viewed as without sin, and this positioned John above Jesus. But, like, what was the baptism ritual, the removal of sins and all that? What was that before there was a Jesus? That seems kind of weird. Yet, the usefulness of this criterion of embarrassment has also been questioned, as these dissimilarities do not in themselves prove that the oldest traditions are not also inventions. I mean, that's just it. None of this is going to prove that. And the fact that there's not like real direct, easy to follow evidence to show you, that just tells you everything. In his popular book, Did Jesus Exist? American New Testament scholar Bart Ehrman, let's see. Bart Ehrman. What do you think? Do we think he's chosen? Let's see. Early life and education. Ehrman was born in Lawrence, Kansas. Grew up there. He studied Moody's Bible Institute, where he completed the institute's 3-year diploma. Before transferring credits to Wheaton College, he earned a BA. A textual critic, Bruce Metzger, his dissertation of the gospel quotations of Didymus the blind and far. Okay, so it doesn't say he's actually Jewish here, and it doesn't say anything. It doesn't like specifically say he's Christian. But Ehrman, it's an interesting name. Nearly all critical scholars agree at least on those points about the historical Jesus, but there is obviously a lot more to say. That is where scholarly disagreements loom large. Disagreements not over whether Jesus existed, but over the kind of Jewish teacher and preacher he was. That's what I want to know. How does one become baptized into one's own belief in their own name? Right. And where did the baptism ritual even come from? It's kind of a weird one. Other than it dates back to Jewish customs of, immersion and, it's just more of that. It's how the one guy died. In an immersion ritual. He died. He drowned somehow. Distinction is made between the Jesus of history and the Christ of faith, and the historicity of the supernatural elements of the later narrative, including the purported miracles on resurrection, are outside the reach. Oh shit, what the fuck? What just happened? Are outside the reach of historical methods. Christ myth theory. The Christ myth theory, which developed within scholarly research in the 19th century, is in Geoffrey W. Brumley's words, the view that the story of Jesus is a piece of mythology, possessing no substantial claims to historical fact. I mean, it's a joke. It's just a joke to suggest. It really does come down to where you are in this narrative, where you are in this journey, right? Because at some point, because some Jewish guy in a land far away using methods and tools and shit that I don't and never will have access to, looked at something, some sort of fragment, some sort of scroll, cloth, whatever, that again I'll never have access to, came up with this narrative 200 years ago, and I'm just going to believe it. That's what people don't understand, is that literally is what everything is. Everything is a manufactured narrative of which you choose to believe or you don't. And most of the time, you don't even realize that you're making this choice. It's just sort of the choice is made, is presented, and you just go with it. Even though your brain might be firing off red flags saying, hey, this part doesn't make sense, that part doesn't make sense. You know you're not allowed to say that shit. You know you're not allowed to point out what doesn't make sense. And so you just keep quiet. Yeah, but it read that he was baptized into Christianity, did it not? Maybe I misheard you. So it just said he was baptized. It didn't say he was baptized into Christianity, but what else is baptism? Isn't baptism into Christianity? Are in the historicity of the baptism of Jesus. Let's see, I know there's Jesus was baptized. All right. The baptism of Jesus, the ritual of purification of Jesus with water by John the Baptist, was a major event described in 3 synoptic gospels of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. It is considered to have taken place at El Magtaz, also called Bethany beyond the Jordan, today located in Jordan. Why is Jesus always doing that shit? Like, somebody was like, hey, Jesus, when you stand there with your arms out and your head up to the side, you look really awesome. And he was like, okay, I'm going to do that every time. That's from 1895. You're going to see that a lot in these narratives, that much of it is from much more recent than you think. Date, early 1st century, most likely in circa 28 or 29 AD. Modern biblical scholars view the baptism of Jesus as a historical event to which a high degree of certainty can be assigned. Along with the crucifixion of Jesus, biblical scholars view it as one of 2 historically certain facts about him, and often use it as the starting point for the study of the historical Jesus. Again, what historical fact do you have regarding the idea that Jesus was baptized into Christianity? How did that even go? The baptism is one of the events in the narrative of the life of Jesus in the canonical Gospels. Others include the transfiguration, crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension. Most Christian denominations view the baptism of Jesus as an important event and the basis for the Christian rite of baptism. In Eastern Christianity, Jesus' baptism was commemorated on January 6th, the Julian calendar date of which corresponds to January 19th on the Gregorian calendar. When you start looking into that shit, and you start realizing that that shit was figured out in the 1500s, they were figuring it out that somehow their calendar was off by 1 day every 100 years. How the fuck would they have figured that shit out? Oh, we have this off by 1 day every 100 years, so let's make a change because it matters, right? It matters that it happened on January 19th, but we think it's January 6th. 13 whole days. There's a 13-day difference in the calendar, and it mattered so much that it switched the dating system worldwide, and now it's very confusing because you have to go back and there's the 2 dates and all that shit. Over a 13-day difference? Why would that even matter? Who even cares? Who in the 1500s was like, no, that happened on 632 and 632 on January 15th, not January 2nd. What the fuck? Who gives a shit? Who would have given a shit? How would they have figured it out? It's pushing the wheel around the opposite direction. Midnight express down, not the question. Oh shit, I just rhymed, so it must be true. It's pushing the wheel around in the opposite direction. Midnight Express style, not allowed to question. Just obsess, or just accept and acquiesce. What an ego he had. Sounds like a self-promoting cult leader. Shizzle to me. I mean, again, it's like when you read the actual red text in the Bible, I don't know how anybody could read that and be like, yeah, that's my guy right there. He sounds like such a whiny little bitch. My dad is God. You have to believe me. If you don't believe me, you're gonna get smited. I'm Jesus. Treat me like I'm Jesus. No. I don't want any favoritism. No. I'm just the son of God. I don't need your best pieces of food or I don't need you to worship me. I'm just the son of God, and you better believe it, because if you don't, you're gonna get smited. But don't worship me. Come on. I'm humble. Pray hands. Pray hands. Namaste. Pray hands. The Israel Hayom of darkness is fantasy. This person, who is a longtime viewer troll now, is going to come on here and be like, the article about the ritualistic sexual abuse of children chronicled by Israel Hayom, Israel's #1 free weekly propaganda piece, that was a fantasy. Now who fantasizes about that shit? Just see this is how you know that it's really some piece of shit friar behind that fake profile pretending to be from the Philippines, but it's a friar just trying to make themselves look better, but too stupid to understand. Like, nobody fantasizes about that shit but you fucking weirdos. Anyway, back to it. Again, this person is a Christian. You'd think they'd be happy we'd be reading about this shit. In Eastern Christianity, most Christian denominations view the baptism of Jesus as an important event. Okay. In Eastern Christianity, Jesus' baptism is also referred in some churches as the Feast of the Theophany, or the Opani. The Opani. Oh, he's got Opanis. In the Roman Catholic Church, the Anglican Communion, the Lutheran churches, and some other Western denominations, it is recalled on a day within the following week, the feast of the baptism of the Lord. In Roman Catholicism, the baptism of Jesus is one of the luminous mysteries, sometimes added to the rosary. It is a Trinitarian feast in the Eastern Orthodox. Luminous mysteries. The mysteries of the Rosary are meditations on the episodes in the life and death of Jesus, from the Annunciation to the Ascension and beyond. These are traditionally grouped by 5 into themed sets known as joyful or joyous mysteries, the sorrow mysteries, and the glorious mysteries. John Paul II recommended an additional set called the luminous mysteries, or the mysteries of the light, in his apostolic letter Rosium Virginius Marie, October 2002. The original mysteries of light are written by George Precca, the only Maltese official Catholic saint, and later reformed by the Pope. Typically, a spiritual goal known as a fruit is often assigned to each mystery. Below are listed from the appendix of Louis Marie de Montfort's book Secret of the Rosary for the original 15 mysteries, with other possible fruits being listed in other pamphlets bracketed. This sounds like a fucking video game. You know, it sounds like the games my kids play. Gotta get the fruits. I'm just a ragged trousered philanthropic Judaism defector. Perhaps he owes the money lenders for his dope bill or summit. Yep, makes sense. Ran off with his buddies, changed their names, etc. The joyful mysteries, the Annunciation, the fruit of the mercy, humility. Number 2, the Visitation, fruit of the mystery, love of neighbor. Number 3, birth of Jesus, fruit of the mystery, poverty, detachment from the things of the world, contentment of riches, love and the poor. So that's another one of those things, right? You know, the Bible is all about making you hate the good life. You know, you're supposed to be happy with the nothing that you have. And if you have too much, you should get rid of it, because Jesus had nothing and he was happy. And don't you want to be like Jesus? It's brainwashing. It's mind control. You know, it's how you get a population of NPCs to, you know, follow a bunch of shit that don't make no sense. You promise them goofy rewards and fruits and, you know, I mean, it's embarrassing, man. It's fucking embarrassing. Number 4, the presentation of Jesus at the temple, fruit of mystery, gift of wisdom and purity of mind and body, obedience. Right? You want to be pure of mind and body? Well, you better be obedient to what we tell you. Number 5, the finding of Jesus in the temple, fruit of mystery, true conversions, piety, joy of finding Jesus. This is just so stupid. And like, I can end up just going and going and going. And it's so hard to actually like, you know, look into this. And it seems like it's so purposefully vague and confusing. That way there is nothing to hold on to. And it's all about interpretation and faith. Nearly all scholars believe that John the Baptist performed a baptism on Jesus and viewed it as an historical event to which a high degree of certainty can be assigned. James Dunn states that the historicity of the baptism and the crucifixion of Jesus command almost universal assent. I mean, again, so they're just going to keep repeating how, well, all of the really smart people agree. So we're not going to actually present you with any sort of evidence to back this one way or another. Just know that all the smart people think this way. Dunn states that these two facts rank so high on the almost impossible to doubt or deny scale of historical facts that they are often the starting. Like, seriously, isn't this like the third time I've read that exact same statement? John Dominic Crosans states that it is historically certain that Jesus was baptized by John in the Jordan. It's just, that's ridiculous. And it just seems like, you know, it's like they can't actually prove anything. So here, let's just go with this, right? Because, you know, at the end of the day, how do you prove that a guy was dunked in water? Never mind the idea of what is he being baptized into. I'm so confused by that. I'm so glad you brought that up. But how do you baptize Jesus? What cult was Jesus baptized into? In the Antiquities of the Jews, first century historian Flavius Josephus also wrote about John the Baptist and his eventual death in Perea. The existence of John the Baptist within the same time frame as Jesus and his eventual execution by Herod Antipas is attested to by first century historian Flavius Josephus, and the overwhelming majority of modern scholars view Josephus's account of the activities of John the Baptist as authentic. So again, it's like, how do we know that even this Josephus guy existed? What proof do you have that that's true? And what the fuck was he writing it all on? Lasted 2,000 years, huh? What magical paper was all of this written on? Oh, well, don't worry, you won't be able to see it. It's locked away in a museum or in the Vatican somewhere or something like that. I mean, so much of this is just like common sense stupid. Wow, I can't believe I actually caught that. Seriously, that was like 6. And again, the narrative is that, well, a bunch of modern day scholars say it's true, so it must be true, right? Papyrus, right? Or papyrus, or however you say that shit. Yeah, that's what they say, because apparently they just had an abundance of it, and they were like, don't worry, this will last 2,000 years, so let's write it on this. Must have been John's if he was educated in Christianity before Christ. Lebanon. Josephus establishes a key connection between the historical events he recorded and the specific episodes that appear in the Gospels. The reference in the Antiquities of the Jews by Josephus to John's popularity among the crowds, Antiquities 8:5-2, and how he preached his baptism in considerable and reliable historical datum, or is considerable. Like, again, that's just silly. I mean, when you think about what it is, right? It's not like the world didn't exist. So you have an entire world of things going on. Now, according to the numbers that they give us, my lunch breaks population zero video, that's definitely one worth looking at. But he talks about how by the time you get to around 600 AD in the narrative we're given, there'd be no one. There wouldn't be anyone. The way that they say that the population decreases every 66 years by 69%, or maybe it's the other way around, something like that. But you can see it in the math. It's consistent in the numbers that were given up until a certain point where they stop giving numbers. But by the time you get to 600, there's no one. No one's there. So now we're talking about, 600 years prior to that, maybe. Because it is strange to think, like, so what year was it when they decided that they were going to go with the Dionysian calendar? And how did they, they don't really know how he decided it was 525 AD. And then his work wasn't actually put into practice for another 200 years or something. But what year was it? And then is all of that math always done? The difference is always done in all of the historical accounts that we have from all over the world, where they were on a different sort of time frame. I mean, who's to say they were on any sort of time frame? What did the Chinese call their years? How was that going? How did they keep that? And then how was that put into the calendar that, just think about all that. And of course the Jews think it's like 5,700 something or other. was it 5,785 or 95? The only thing that's the same is the ones place. Or the tens place. No, the ones place. Yeah. But when you I mean, you think about this idea of some guy deciding that the date is different, presenting it to the king of all of the land, of all of the history, of everything, and them going, okay, well, in 200 years, we'll put this into practice. And then everybody adopting it. Everybody go, okay, so wait, what year do you say it is now? And what do we call, okay, so now it's a complete, and what, okay, so now we're going to go back and we'll erase all of our history books and write the correct date in so it's all caught up. Okay, we'll make sure we do that. We're not talking about the difference between Gregorian and Julian, 13 days. We're talking about, I don't know. I don't even know what it's supposed to be. Fuck you and your fucking goofy boyfriend. I wish things upon you. I'm not that guy that's all namaste. If you're gonna be a douchebag, I wish bad things upon you. The existence of John the Baptist within the same time frame of Jesus and his eventual execution by Herod Antipas is attested to by first century historian. Did we already read this? It's all the same, so you never know if I've already read it or not, or it's just they're just repeating something. I think this is no first century historian. Okay, so I think I got backed up a little bit. No. Unlike the God. Okay, let's keep going then, I guess. Activities John the Baptist. Josephus establishes a key connection between the Stokor. Okay, the reference in the Antiquities of the Jews by Josephus to John's popularity among the crowds. What the fuck? Unlike the Gospels, unlike the Gospels, Josephus does not relate John and Jesus, and does not state that John's baptism were for the remission of sins. However, almost all modern scholars consider the Josephus passage on John to be authentic in its entirety, and view the variations between Josephus and the Gospels as indications that the Josephus passages are authentic. For a Christian interpolator, I don't know, would have made them correspond to the Christian traditions. Like, that is just fucking stupid. So we're saying it's real because there's another account? Like, you have a handful of people that sort of might say the same thing, like you couldn't seed it so that, well, no, it's true. My sister's cousin, baby-in-law Tracy, said she saw you in a club and she said you was all hogged up with some Tarrant. Now tell me who she was. Man, sister-in-law, baby-in-law Tracy's a goddamn it. She alive. She ain't seen me in the club hogged up with nobody. He's not goofy. He's over 6 feet tall. Who gives a shit about you? Nobody gives a shit about you. Go suck his dick till your fucking, cum comes out your ears. I don't give a fuck. Who gives a fuck about you? What are you even doing here? Like, you want negative attention? Is that all it is? Like, what a fucking weirdo. One of the arguments in favor of the historicity of the baptism of Jesus by John is that it is a story in which the early Christian church would have never wanted to invent, typically referred to as the criterion of embarrassment in historical analysis. Right, it's so bad. Why would they want to invent it if it's bad? You know what I mean? That proves it's true because it doesn't, it's got some bad parts to it. So, that's so fucking stupid. Based on this criterion, given that John baptized for the remission of sins and Jesus was viewed as without sin, the invention of this story would have served no purpose and would have been an embarrassment given that it positioned John above Jesus. I don't understand. Is it possible that they were just stupid and they arrogant and didn't think we would catch on? Right on, open-minded, glad. The Gospels are not the only... wait. The Gospel of Matthew attempts to offset this problem by having John feel unworthy to baptize Jesus, and Jesus giving him permission to do so in Matthew 3:14-15. Oh, that makes it better then, because Jesus gave him permission. So that, that accounts for how ludicrously stupid it is then, right? What's up, cowboy? Another argument supporting the historicity of the baptism is that multiple accounts refer to it, usually called the criterion of multiple attestation. Technically, multiple attestation does not guarantee authenticity, but only determines antiquity. However, for most scholars, together with the criterion of embarrassment, it lends credibility to the baptism of Jesus by John being a historical event. An historical event. Wow, is that fucking stupid. So, I mean, again, what are we talking about? How many people are we talking about? All right, everybody say, okay, cops are coming. Everybody say, this happened, this happened, this happened. Okay? You got it? You got it? Everybody got it? Okay, good. Like, that's literally all that means. Commentary. Number 1. Okay, what is this? Commentary. Justice Knecht answers the question of why Jesus let himself be baptized by John. The baptism of Jesus depicted at the Cathedral Saint Trinity, Port-au-Prince, Haiti. I bet y'all don't like that very much, do you? Fuck is Jesus doing brown? Jesus isn't supposed to be brown. Jesus is white. Number 1, he did not require to do penance. He did not require to do penance. That is a weird phrase. Weird. Because he was without sin, but he had taken our sins upon him to atone for them. Therefore, he humbled himself, placed himself on a level with sinners, and obediently subjugated himself to be baptized, as he had submitted before to be circumcised, and presented in the temple. That's fucking gross. I'm telling you, circumcision is such a huge part of it. And I really think it's because of the trauma it causes the boy, the victim. And considering that what's done to us, like at least they wait 8 days. And then they do it in a situation surrounded by family so the kid doesn't fucking... So at the very least, the kid is surrounded by love. Like it's a horrible practice any way you slice it, pun intended. But it's at least they're to me, it seems obvious, it seems purposeful that they wait the 8 days, but when it comes to us, they do it to us within hours of being born. The kid still can't even see, it still has mom juice in its eyes, and it's just this, oh. Oh, this makes me so mad. It makes me so mad that I was forced into doing this to my children. And that if it would have just been a couple of years later, there'd have been no fucking way I would have signed off on it. I just didn't know better. I purposefully didn't know better. I didn't want to know better. I brought it up a couple of times, and my wife would be like, I don't want them looking different. And I'd just be like, oh. I hate it so much. I just fucking hate it so much. Why aren't we given the choice? If it's the right thing to do, why aren't we given the choice? Especially with a medical community that would much rather have us come back for something separate so they can make more money. But why is that choice taken from us at birth? Like, just try to rationalize the trauma. Try to think about that. Try to imagine the trauma of no anesthetic, along with literally no knowledge whatsoever of what's going on. You're this beautiful little perfect creature, and you've just been through trauma being born. Birth is traumatic. And so you're now taken from the only comfort that you have, which is the mom and dad's voice, the mom especially, that you recognize the feel of, the temperature of, the sound of, the rhythm of the breathing and all that. The babies are going to be so much more attuned to that shit than in tune with that shit than we even realize. They know their mother's breathing rhythms and heartbeats and all that. And that's literally the world that they've known solely for the last 9 months, 10 months, technically. And so you take them away from the parents and you put them in the cold, the nursery where the beds are, warm, but the operating room is cold. And then they basically crucify the baby, which is really fucking strange, but they strap its arms down and they strap its legs down in a crucifix position, and they put this little bell-shaped thing over the penis, and when they spin it around, a blade comes out and it slices the baby, and the baby goes and goes into shock a lot of the times. Most of the time, because the baby just has no fucking idea what is being done to it. Morning, lazy bones. It's just crazy. It's so crazy to think that, that mutilating children is this thing that we think is so important. Like, it's such a it just doesn't even make sense, you know? It's literally as dumb as it gets, and yet it's very common. I mean, fuck, Jesus did it, right? So you could do it too, right? But Jesus was given the choice. He took it, I guess, because that's what he wanted to do. It wasn't forced upon him at birth. And, you know, Jesus being a Jew, that makes sense. Except, you know, that for them it's 8 days. But still, he gave us thereby a lesson in humility and obedience, and taught us that we, too, must fulfill all justice, i.e., promptly obey all of the ordinances of God. Well, Jesus did it. Why don't you? And again, because, you know, Jesus is a historical fact and all, you should definitely mutilate your children based on this bullshit. Because it's a historical fact. We say so. The people that want you to do it tell you so. The people that benefit from the Goyim growing up full of all sorts of issues, insecurities. You know, we live in this penis-focused rape culture that we live in. Maybe it has something to do with us being mutilated at birth. Number 3, by his baptism, he sanctified water and gave it the power of purifying and sanctifying the soul of man. Well, if it didn't have that power beforehand, what was the point of baptism? Who was getting baptized when the water didn't do anything? In other words, he instituted a sacrament of baptism by which, under the outward sign of water, we receive remission for our sins. Good thing we take showers then, huh? You know, you would think like the church would just baptize or canonize or magical powerize the water treatment facility, making all of the water into this holy water and washing everyone free of their sins for free. He also notes that so wait, if I pour holy water into the water supply, doesn't it just spread? I mean, or does that dilute the holiness? Does water have a certain amount of holiness? And you can dilute that shit by adding more water to it? You would think the holiness would override that. You would think the holiness would spread like a cancer inside the water and infect all of the water in that situation. He also notes that quote, the opening of heaven signified that heaven, which had been closed to man since the fall, was now once more opened by Jesus. Roger Baxter reflects on Christ's baptism in the meditation. I mean, it's kind of silly, but at the same time, it's, I mean, what is that, right? I was in the room when they cut my boy. He never cried like that ever since. No, you mutilated him. You watched as they mutilated your son. It's got to be a traumatizing event in itself. I have 2 regrets when it comes to my children. Well, 3, I guess. 3 is me not being more successful, so we live in a better neighborhood, obviously. That's a big deal. That's one that continues to exist. But as far as, you know, them being little or whatever, their existence goes, circumcision and the amount of vaccination that they did receive. They didn't get it all, but they did get some. We were at least smart enough to break it into 3, you know, have them do it into 3 parts. And I say Nick got them all. Nathan got 2, but Angela says it's not like, I don't know. I wish they got none. I literally think about that probably once a day. Wonder who they could be, how much better they could be without that poison in their system. I regret it so tremendously, and I regret the circumcision so much. My youngest, they fucked up the circumcision the first time. So we actually had to take him in when he was like, 18 months old or something like that. And they had to redo it. But at least this time they put him under for it. But, oh, it was so horrible. I remember it. Just how sad I felt doing it. Because by that time I'd really grown to regret it all. And, Roger Baxter reflects on Christ's baptism in his meditations. The first act of Christ's public life was to present himself to be baptized by his precursor, to teach us that those who are employed in the work of God should carry with them a pure, uncorrupted heart. Gross. He therefore takes leave of his divine mother, who, although she grieved at the absence of such a son, rejoiced that the redemption of Israel was at hand. He takes a long journey to the Baptist. The Lord goes to the servant to be baptized by him as a common sinner among publications and soldiers and the lowest order of the vulgar. Admire the humility of the Son of God and convince yourself that humility is the best preparation for great works. I mean, don't be proud of yourself. Don't think highly of yourself. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down. Be humble. So that's literally all I get for the baptism of Jesus. Well, no, there are more of these in the Synoptic Gospels, in the Gospel of John, in the Gospel of Nazarenes, location, chronology. Like generally considered the start of his ministry. Shortly after the start of the ministry of John the Baptist, Luke 3:1-2 states, in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, when Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea, the word of God came to John, son of Zechariah, in the wilderness. Again, you understand that this is literally all Jewish narrative, right? In the wilderness, that's them, in their 40-day exodus or 40-year exodus in the wilderness. There are 2 approaches to determining when the reign of Tiberius Caesar started. The traditional approach is that of assuming that the reign of Tiberius started when he became co-regent in 11 AD, placing the start of the ministry of John the Baptist around 26 AD. However, some scholars assume it to be upon the death of his predecessor, Augustus Caesar, in 14 AD, implying that the ministry of John the Baptist began in 29 AD. If you believe any of that, then you are, you deserve it. Right? It's actually really, really interesting, right? Like the legitimacy of the reality of any of these characters, of Tiberius Caesar, of Augustus Caesar, of any of that shit, and the narrative that we're told being even slightly true, it's a joke. Like, this is just you again. They're as legitimate as Jesus, as far as you know. And they're so clearly lying about our history. And it doesn't even take that much. Like, I could easily convince anybody that they're lying about our history. There's a commercial on TV right now. Not right now, but right now. It's the Meta commercial, right? And it's like the people have the glasses and they're walking through and they're like, Meta, what's this? Meta, what's that? Meta, what is this? You know, you've seen that commercial, right? There's one part that stands out to me because I just thought, like, what a weird ass thing. So it's some guy riding his bike down the subway stairs, like to get into a subway. And I just thought, is that allowed? Are you allowed to ride your bike down the subway stairs? Aren't you going to hit people and shit? Isn't that incredibly dangerous? Aren't subways full of people? So just that in itself is like, why did they choose that imagery? All the rest of the imagery is reasonable, is real life. You know, somebody's looking at a melon or something. What kind of flower is this? Where does, you know? But this one scene just stands out to me. And what he says is, Meta, how far have I descended? And Meta says 267 feet. And just think about that. 267 feet. That's pretty big. That's pretty big. And he's just going down the stairs. We don't even know what actual flight of stairs he's on, what level he's on. But ask yourself how early 1900, well, the New York subway system was first thought of supposedly in 1894 and then was opened by 1904. By 1904, they had dug it out, built the cars, done the whole thing. They were running subways 10 years after it was first proposed. Because you know that late 1800s, early 1900s construction was literally unrivaled. And this is this is the crux of the argument, is the evidence is all around you. Can I provide you with a signed document from Donald Trump saying, you know, what Guy Williams is talking about is true and everything? No. Can you find mainstream sources, official mainstream sources that say that our narrative is fake and we should question everything? No. No, every single one of those friar-run, you know, government-funded agencies all say the exact same thing. Not only is it the way they tell us, but if you even begin to question what we're being told, you're a piece of shit, horrible person. Sorry, I just got distracted. Thinking about something else. But so in this subway system that he's in is from the early 1900s. He is 267 feet below the surface. And that's just one of the levels. There are levels above him, you know, that trains run on. Trains run all through these areas. All these different, they have all these different levels, you know. You get on your train on the third, fourth level down, and when you come out, you got to go up flights of stairs. Where, like, how does this even happen? Especially when you're talking about someplace like New York, where I would imagine it doesn't take real long to hit water when you're digging down. You know, there's a reason why so many, you know, coastal properties don't have basements and shit. Because you can't dig too far down before you hit water. You've been to the beach, you've done it. And yet these subway systems exist. And a lot of them are, operate under the same, the same mechanics that they always have. They haven't been updated. And you just think, like, how the fuck not only did they build it, but that it lasts this long? Let's see. The generally assumed dates for the start of the ministry of John the Baptist, based on this reference in the Gospel of Luke, are about 28 AD 29, with the ministry of Jesus, with his baptism following it shortly thereafter. I mean, that's just stupid. That's just stupid. So we're doing this historicity of Jesus part. So let's keep going here, because I can see where we got to, namely his baptism, John the Baptist. Even the baptism narrative is questionable. Furthermore, the historicity of supernatural elements like his purported miracles and resurrection are deemed to be solely a matter of faith or of theology, or lack thereof. Sources for the historicity of Jesus. The criterion of multiple attestation looks at the number of early sources that mention Jesus and evaluates the reliability of those sources. To establish the existence of a person without any assumptions, one source from one author, either a supporter or an opponent, is needed. For Jesus, there are at least 12 independent sources from 5 authors in the first century from supporters, and 2 independent sources from authors from non-supporters, most of which represents sources that have become canonical for Christianity. Other independent sources did not survive. So, not only did all of these sources, I guess these 14 sources. Wait, okay, so it said 12 independent sources. 5 from the first century and 2 sources. Okay, wait. For Jesus, there are at least 12 independent sources from 5 authors in the first century, from supporters, and 2 independent sources from 2 authors from non-supporters. Does that mean there are 14 supporters or 14 sources? There are Christian sources on the person of Jesus, the letters of Paul, and the Gospels. And there are also Jewish and Roman sources, Josephus, Suetonius, Tacitus, Pliny the Younger, that mention Jesus. From Paul, Josephus, and Tacitus alone, the existence of Jesus, along with the general time and place of his activity, can be confirmed. Just seems ridiculous. There are also apocryphal texts that are examples of the wide variety of writings from early Christianity. These are additional independent sources on Jesus' existence and they corroborate details found in other surviving sources as a bedrock of historical tradition. Contemporary non-Christian sources in the 1st and 2nd century never deny the existence of Jesus, and there is also no indication that pagan or Jewish writers in antiquity who opposed Christianity questioned the existence existence of Jesus, taking into consideration that sources on other first century individuals from Galilee were also written by either supporters or enemies as well, the sources on Jesus cannot be dismissed. That's ridiculous. To say, well, there are 14 of us, and two come from people that were enemies, so that has to mean he's true. They were all writing on papyrus, or papyrus. How do you say it? Papyrus. Good thing you're awake, so now you can help me say all these fucking words.
Stupid.
No, because I'm stupid. Because reading this for the very first time, with all of these weird ass biblical words, and you ever heard of let's see, a testament? Wait. What was the word? Attestation? Have you heard of attestation before?
No.
No, seriously.
Foul.
No, he says here, attestation is indeed a word that is used every day, LOL. Yeah, people are always saying attestation. They're talking about attestation, right?
Yeah.
Karen, you should see what, oh my God. I'm going to send you a picture of what it said to you. How the translator, look what it did to two different comments trying to say how to say papyrus. That's hilarious. Pap is Russian, it says on my end, Karen. You said pap is Russian, and dumbass above you said paprika, or paprika. Paprika. Yeah, multiple attestation. The criterion of multiple attestation. Hey, sweetheart, the criterion of multiple attestation. You know what I mean, right? The criterion of multiple attestation. That's an everyday phrase you use, right? The criterion. Am I wrong? Is that criterion? Criterion, yes. Okay, I just want to make sure because I'm stupid and all. The criterion of multiple attestation. Imagine if you're not as smart as I am. Imagine if you don't have my wife here who's smarter than me in a lot of these situations. Imagine if you're just like reading this shit, trying to figure it out for yourself. Imagine how difficult that is. Almost so much that you would just be like, you know what, fuck this, I quit. Must be true, because look at all this shit. Multiple attestation. Because there's the criterion of the multiple attestation. Duh. What's this one?
Apocryphal.
Yeah, there we go. Apocryphal. I got that right. Papyrus. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, but you're fucking Scottish. So who knows what the fuck you're saying? I'm serious. Papyrus. Her whole fucking like it's crazy to think we speak the same language. To me, it sounds like she's just speaking in like crazy slang and shit most of the time. But she's not. She's actually a pretty proper chick. She's wicked fucking smart, I'll tell you that. But there's such a difference in the everyday language. It's weird. That's the Latin pronunciation. Fuck the Latins. Again, to me at this point, I just question all of it. The Sanskrit.
the language that dies out, the foundations of all the, but somehow uh, uh, Hebrew Hebrew died out, yet was supposedly uh, reinvented in the early late 1800s, early 1900s. Sure seems to be a lot that comes from right around then. By what's his name? Eliezer ben Yehuda. I believe Hebrew was invented in that time. I don't believe it disappeared and then was fucking brought back to life. And yet they brought it back to life using Arabic and Aramaic, especially Arabic, to account for all of the shortcomings of the language. It's fucking ridiculous. Clearly that shit was invented. Um the apocryphal texts that are examples of the wide variety of writings from early Christianity. There are additional independent sources on Jesus' existence, and they corroborate details found in other surviving sources as a bedrock of historical tradition. Contemporary non-Christian sources in the 1st and 2nd century never deny the existence of Jesus. They never do. Just trust us. And there is also no indication that pagan or Jewish writers in antiquity who opposed Christianity questioned the existence of Jesus. None of them, huh? Not a one. They were all like, yeah, that guy was fucking, that Jew was awesome. He was great to party with, man. We never had to go back to the store. Because apparently they had stores and shit back then. See, I am just...
Walmart was there.
Well, it when you read about all these narratives, right? And you read about these guys and these just these large groupings and whatnot, or these historical, this guy from this place and this guy from that place, and they're historical writers and they scholars and they're doing this and they're doing that and blah blah blah, and they're right. My grandmother, when I asked her, she said her dad was born in 1890. And I said, did he ever get a chance to go to any of the world's fairs that existed at that time? And she was like, no, capital letters, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. It was all anyone could do to just find something to eat at the time. And you so take it for granted, the situation we live in. People that talk about, oh, I just want to live out in the woods away from everybody. I don't, those memes that go around where they show like a big giant house in the middle of nowhere with like a hot tub and all the lights are on. And it's like, would you go live here for 10, And everybody's like, oh yeah, that's all I ever want. That's all I ever need, blah, blah, blah. Bitch, you have no idea how you would survive. You are not going to go out there and kill enough animals so that you can live for the fucking, get all the fruits and vegetables. No. You still want to go to the grocery store. You still want everyday modern conveniences like the lights being on. Like that hot tub. Like the internet that you're looking at the thing on in the first place. Do you know how many of you would freak the fuck out if you didn't have your phone on you? You're so accustomed to having your phone on you. We are so accustomed to having our phones. You don't even realize how often you just reach for it. Like if I don't have my phone, if I have it in the other room and it's charging and I'm like hanging out with the kids or something, I'll catch myself like just like subconsciously reaching to check it to see if something changed. But this is like these narratives of this time. You either have to consent that they were a hell of a lot more modern than we think they were, and they had things like grocery stores and restaurants and all sorts of places for people to feed. Otherwise, every single person would have had to be doing everything they could to get something to eat every single day. They did not have refrigeration. They just salted things. So you just ate salty ass meat all the time? Ugh. Salty ass meat and some potatoes, huh? Hopefully you happen to grow enough potatoes to last for an entire winter. Think about how much of our historical record takes place in regions where winter is rough. And yet, we just don't even think about that. We never even account for that. How did they get around? They were all just knew how to make their own clothes. They were all expert hunters and cooks and forgers and all that shit, while in between they were writing the philosophy of the ages, building the biggest buildings that still exist to this day. Who was feeding those people? How were they feeding those people? Every time you hear some story about this army or that army, Napoleon had an army of 300,000 strong and they marched from here to there. Who the fuck fed those people? 300,000 people who are marching over, not up and down a paved road or anything. They're marching, from dirt point to dirt point, carrying all sorts of shit. And, again, they all somehow have the same uniforms because, they all had the fucking same uniforms. How did they have uniforms? Where did they all get the uniforms? Where did they get their weaponry from? These stockpiles of wood. What factories did Napoleon have going that were creating little child working hands, sweatshops, creating all the uniforms and all the different sizes of all the different people? And come on, it might sound silly, right? But it's a fact. This would have to be a part of it. The logistics of it all is just stupid. Where were they getting all of the wool, the cotton, the materials to sew those uniforms? If they had all the little child labor Japanese hands sewing that shit, where did they get it all? Where did they get all the metal? The ore that they would need to use to then create all the swords, or if they had some sort of guns or whatever, where would they have gotten all that shit? These would have to be large factories that would then have to have huge shipping networks to bring the materials to said factory so they could create. But then again, you would have to say, how did they create said factory? I know it's stupid, right? But, to make the bricks to build the factory, you have to have a kiln. But to build the kiln, you have to have bricks. So you have to build a kiln, a makeshift kiln, that you could then use to make the bricks, that you could then build the giant kilns, that then you could start producing even more bricks.
There you go.
Right? But bricks aren't just like you get some sand and you put it together and it turns into a brick. You need all sorts of ingredients to make good bricks. You also need all sorts of material to maintain the fire that has to be going. The hot, very hot fire in the kiln. So you would need an abundant source of dead, usable wood. Just because a tree is cut down doesn't mean you can use it. You're going to run out of viable wood, in the reasonable area very quickly. So then again, we have to have some sort of shipping company that's bringing in cords and cords and cords of wood. Like these logistics are the downfall of all of it, because you might not be experts on any of this shit, but you're all like common sense, you know how difficult things are in 2025 with all of the advanced technology we have today. And shit gets lost in shipping, and the website goes down or some shit like that. Imagine what we're talking about back in this time when there's no communication. Pigeons, obviously the pigeons. But how how does all of this take place? This is how it is in every source. And there are buildings that still exist today from antiquity made of bricks and shit. How the fuck did they make 2,000-year-old bricks? What process did they use, and where did they get them all? And I mean, I haven't done enough research into it yet, but stepwells are, they're so much further than what you think.
If you look at the houses in Detroit that were built in the 20s, the bricks are literally crumbling.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not. There are plenty of houses that are from then. There are places where it's been let to go shitty, but there are plenty of places where there's been upkeep and they look amazing. I mean, literally, our house was built in the 40s or the 50s? 50s. 50s.
It was 52.
Okay, so it's like morning.
Morning.
You try to be quiet every time, but every time I sense you. I sense you. I sense your being. Waka waka waka. Good morning.
Morning.
How you doing? Hey, how you doing? Number one, you've been. Good morning, duty. How are you?
I love you.
What a surprise! They
Good
both
morning,
happen to wake
Pickle.
up at exactly 11
Yeah.
o'clock.
You've already been up.
My wife
was
just
that?
farted in my face.
Who did?
You did.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. I just heard it.
I thought that was Nathan.
No, that was you.
No, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
No,
My wife just farted as we were. Did you guys hear it? It went.
no, that wasn't me. Thank you.
She's so nasty. I mean, I like when she does it,
Oh, God. Oh,
put her legs back and I'll be like, all right, let it rip.
Oh. Oh.
That's so gross. The obsession with
Yet there are
buttholes.
people that enjoy that.
Right. The obsession with buttholes, the obsession with like super close ups and all that's so weird. And I remember growing up thinking there was something wrong with me because I always thought, I don't want to see the inside of her pussy. Like her doing the whole.
Seeing those in the dumpster going, who wants to see that?
Right, spreading all out and pulling it apart.
Boys think this is what?
Right. Well, and
What's wrong with them?
Yeah.
Stupid, gross boys.
exactly, you had justification. Me, I'm going, am I gay? I must be gay because I don't think this is right. It's there's so much of it. It must be what dudes
That's all there
think.
was, yeah.
Right. So me thinking I don't care to like if Angela was obsessed with looking in my pee hole,
Ew.
I'd be like, you're fucking weird. I mean, I'd let her.
Let me see it.
Okay, yeah.
Let me just see.
I think she is weird, but I'd let her do it every time she wanted to.
You wouldn't.
Yeah, what?
That would be so gross. No. That would probably hurt. Wouldn't that hurt?
Well, I mean, if you were like, I'd be. It's just so weird. It's just so weird. We live in a weird world, man. But, growing up, being like, that chick leaning on that car looks stupid. I get it, she's hot. I get the car's cool. But
Right.
why would I want that on my wall?
I always thought,
Why would my
she's ruining
female,
the car.
like if I'm married, I'm going to have a calendar of hot chicks on the wall in my little man cave. Like, how disrespectful is that? This is weird. You know? I mean, nowadays it's different because you have your porn on your phone. But strange. Anyway, let's go back to Jesus. uh, uh, Taking into consideration that sources on other first century individuals from Galilee were also written by either supporters or enemies as well, the sources of Jesus cannot be dismissed. Biblical scholarship assumes that the gospel stories are based on oral traditions and memories of Jesus. Do you get that? Would you just hear that? Like this is where it's like a joke. You just got done, saying it's undeniable, it can't be dismissed, it's this, that, and the other, and then you go, biblical scholarship assumes that the gospel stories are based on oral traditions and memories of Jesus. Like it's.
But that doesn't make sense because didn't Moses get the tablets written?
Don't do it.
Come on.
Don't do it. Just don't.
Moses doesn't remember Jesus. She's not biblical.
She's gonna make it look bad. Don't do it. You don't know enough. You got it all mixed up. You got your days mixed up. You're gonna get it wrong. Wait.
Nobody remembers.
That's Samuel L. Jackson, isn't it? No, that's Will Smith. Oh, Will Smith. I knew that. I was thinking that, but Samuel L. Jackson.
Not people remembering stories about Jesus.
That's what it is.
It was God giving those words to the prophets or whatever.
Biblical scholarship assumes that the gospel stories are based on oral traditions and memories of Jesus. These traditions precede the surviving gospels by decades, going back to the time of Jesus and the time of Paul's persecution and early Christian Jews prior to his conversion.
Christian Jews.
What?
It's an oxymoron. Ready, people? Black and white.
According to
Jews don't believe in Jesus. He was just another man. Christians are only Christians because they believe that Jesus Christ was God's son and our Messiah. Christian, Jesus Christ. So a Jewish Christian doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, but Jesus is a Jewish Christian because Jesus was He
didn't believe he was the Messiah at
first.
But
he's a Jewish preacher. He's
until
a Jew.
They killed him, and then God said, "You know what? You are my kid. I must send you back."
No, that's not what happened. No, because see, so the resurrection is not him coming back. We're all still waiting on the comeback. The resurrection is 3 days after he was dead and put into the cave with the boulder in front of the cave. They went back to the cave and the boulder had moved and Jesus' body was gone. So that means he was resurrected. Literally, that's it. There's no like, I seen him. There's nobody that says that. It's just based on the idea that somebody stole the body and they were like, oh shit, we don't want to say somebody stole that shit. So what are we going to say? He resurrected, like, even think about this.
He resurrected and then went back to heaven.
No, he resurrected and left the cave and then abandoned all of you motherfuckers. Him again. What an asshole. Why would he do that? Why would he go through the process of resurrection? If he was just going to die and float up to heaven, are we saying that if you get put into a cave and a rock gets put over the entrance, your soul can't go to heaven?
So God went to him, and God said, listen, kid, I will bring you back to life, but you can't stay here. If you even so much as put a toe on this earth, everybody's going to die.
I think I'm going to move to Florida.
So, I'll bring you back to life, but you cannot come back here.
No, he went to the Americas where he buried the plates that Joseph Smith found to, for Mormons.
He did not touch the earth. If his toe touched the earth, That's it. Everybody's dead.
No, I think that's after the second time. That's once he comes back down. So again, so that is kind of so the paradox here is resurrected.
He just floated.
But if he resurrected, did he then go up to heaven after the resurrection? Because why would he have to move the boulder? Why, if he's just spirit body float away, he could go to heaven. So, but his actual body was missing. So, by your whole,
Well, they had to let.
I want to say
humans
thought
know.
process, but that's not really
It
it.
was just letting the humans know that something was amiss.
He moved the boulder and then took off. So again, it's like kind of like Hitler, where like, did he go down to Argentina and live out his life as Jesus Christoph? And people are like, you know who you look like? And he'd be like, Tony Bennett. And they'd be like, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Mustache, he'd have to shave his mustache.
Oh, he shaved everything. Shaved his mustache, shaved his beard, started going by Steve. It's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. The oldest house in Glasgow is called the Providence Lordship, built in 1540s. That's a random fact to throw in here. Thank you.
Is it still standing? Is it still a functional house?
Yeah.
Or is it one of those, skeleton relics that people can tour through?
I don't think it would be. Oh, yeah. I don't. Yeah, no. It's probably a museum at this point, but it's still probably functional. I doubt nobody lives
I
there.
think there's a house. It's either in Italy or France that's super old like that.
There's tons of them.
It is still occupied.
Yeah, tons of them are though. Tons of them are. Tons of them are. Apparently, in the late 18s, early 19s, and before, I guess.
And before.
We were able to build the most amazing shit on the ground, in the fucking side of cliffs. You name it, we could slap that shit together.
Built? The one on the island? The Rocky Island? When was that built? We looked it up that one time. That was years ago.
I don't know if you're talking about, are you talking about Mont Saint Michel?
The one in Germany.
No.
On the island that's on the cliff. When did they build that?
The castle that's on, there's a cliff. Well, it's actually like a plateau mountain kind of thing, and on the mountain there's a lake, and on the lake there's an island, and on the island there's a castle.
But it
I don't know. There's lots of those.
The whole island, so there's no land next to it for them to have put a bulldozer to do the construction.
I don't know if you're talking about Mont Saint Michel. Mont Saint Michel is like that. Mont Saint Michel is huge. Mont Saint Michel is but I mean it's take your pick. The Palace of Versailles, the look at damn near all of London. It goes under the fucking radar, but all of London, especially the downtown and the famous areas and the Thames and all that, shit's all supposedly 1800s construction. Who the hell? Look up Old London Bridge. I haven't done this one in a long time, and I want to again. Old London Bridge will blow your fucking mind. There are no pictures of it, but there are drawings and shit, and
Doesn't
5,
exist anymore,
10,
right? Doesn't exist anymore.
Well, London Bridge exists, but not like it did back then, where it was there would be oh God, I gotta look it up. Yeah, here you go. An engraving by Calais Vischer showing Old London Bridge in 1616 with what is now Southwark Cathedral in the foreground. The spiked heads of executed criminals can be seen above the Southwark House. This is an engraving from 1616. So who knows when all of this shit is built? You tell me. Look at. I wish you guys could see the confusion on her face. Yeah, that's London Bridge.
Don't make no sense.
Look at that. that's what they were capable of doing in the by 1616. So again, you would assume a lot of this is much older than that. This is London fucking Bridge. Are you fucking look at all the spires and shit in the background. Look at all the skyscrapers in the background. Are we to believe that those are all churches? They just needed that many churches and cathedrals and shit back then? Or are those maybe something else? I mean, so like how many stories do you think this is? Like if you look at look at that side of the building. That shows us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories or so, maybe 7 stories, and then the penthouse on the top. And then what's on the top? Oh no, it's got a hollow, so there's a courtyard in the middle of it. It's so big that you have, I mean, just look at that. You have your dome, your dome right there. I mean, this is just insane. And then look at all these spires and shit in the background. What do you honestly think those are all churches? They just needed that many churches all in that area. Just church after church after church after church. That's what you think? That one's so big it doesn't even fit on the fucking page. And then there's all the construction like that goes all the way back. There's still all this shit too. What is this? What's this giant thing right here? Do you guys understand that your history is a fucking lie? I would love to know the true history of the world. Wouldn't you though? I mean, it just shows that we were so much more capable than we think we are. Because do you believe that we could do that shit today? Do you believe that we could build a London Bridge like that today? How come it doesn't look like that today? It's not even close to like that. It's nice. It's But what 1600s, 1500s technology was in place to construct all of that? What shipping companies were bringing in all of the materials to construct all of that shit? The bridge itself. How did they construct the bridge itself? That's not like easy water right there. How did they get down into the bedrock of the water to be able to build structure that could maintain and hold all of that weight that all those buildings would have been? I mean, the foundations of this bridge. Yeah, look at that shit. All those locks and shit like that boats, I guess, just passed through. And if you had a big boat, well, you were fucked. But how did they get all of those structures down into the base? Down deep into the bedrock so that it could support the millions of pounds of materials that all of that shit must have weighed. Does it even begin to make sense? Fucking skyscrapers like that should be possible for people back then. Right. Nowadays, that the one spire that is in the foreground that they say here, this building here in the front, that one still exists to this day. And it's some sort of modern day marvel, and we're like, holy shit, how does that still exist? What a beautiful thing. Blah blah blah. Southwark Cathedral, you know, still right here. It's this one here. To this day, that still exists. And then behind it, you get that ugly ass modern building. Look how ugly that shit is. So
Oh, I don't like those.
that cathedral that was in the
Yeah,
front,
that's gorgeous.
right? That still exists to this day.
That's gorgeous.
And actually, if you look, the tower is substantially smaller.
The one behind it is ugly.
Right, but this tower was much bigger. Do you see how much bigger that shit is? You see that?
Yeah.
But that still exists today, and we're like, holy fuck, how did they build that? Well, that was just a small, normal sized building back then. Those apparently were everywhere. So, what are we talking about? How many people are we talking about? What are the population counts back then? Where does everybody get their architectural knowledge from, their engineering base from? You know, my wife will tell me, "Oh, they worked harder back then. They were more dedicated back then. Things were cheaper back then."
The Iranian president declared full-fledged war with U.S., Israel, and Europe. What? That can't be right. That can't be right. Iran declared war. Yes. Declares total war against U.S., Israel, Europe.
Did they?
As Islamic Republic seeks to expand nuclear capabilities. Iran's president declared his nation was in a total war with the U.S., Israel, and Europe, just as Tehran looks to rebuild its nuclear capabilities and strengthen ties with Hamas. Masoud Pezeshkian made the bold statement in an interview published in state media Saturday. Barron's reported, "In my opinion, we are at total war with the United States, Israel, and Europe. They want to bring our country to its knees."
That's not declaring war.
Where's the rest of the fucking New York Post? I hate reading.
But that's not declaring war.
Hold on.
That's saying, in my opinion, it's that way. Look at what they're doing to us. We are at war with them. We didn't want to be.
We're in a full-scale war with them.
Yeah. Because they're stuck defending themselves.
This is fine. Hold on. He argued that the current conflict is more complex than the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s, saying his country is now under pressure from every angle, according to the Times of Israel. If one understands it well, this war is far more complex. In the war with Iraq, the situation was clear. They fired missiles and we knew where to hit. Here, they're besieging us from every aspect. They're creating problems for us in terms of livelihood, culturally, politically, and security-wise. Let's see where it's done. So then they just died. Stupid. These news, they suck. Yeah. So no, it's not like formally declaring war.
Right,
just
exactly.
saying we're already at war.
Right, exactly.
Which we are.
No, they are. They are at war. They have been drug into something that they didn't do.
We're all at fucking war right
No,
now.
I get it, but according to what you're talking about, I get what you're saying. But according to what you're talking about, it's propaganda. The headline made it sound like Iran declared war on the United States. Do you know how many people are just going to see the headline and then say that to somebody else? They're not going to actually read the article. And right away you could tell that's what the article is saying. Iran's not fucking like we're attacking the United States. We're at war. No. They're saying, look at this fucking full-scale war that's been brought upon us. We're going to defend ourselves, and I don't fucking blame them. I'm so confused as to why we still have solid beliefs in how giant structures are made, how did tombs and giant walkways get into the Great Pyramids. Yeah, the Great Pyramids are a fucking... It doesn't make any sense. And if you guys remember, again, I talked about this the other day. Not only was the report released, like Israel was doing something. There was a real big stink about what Israel was doing at the time. But to as the distraction, they said, "Oh, hey, we found X-ray scans found that there are these large spiral structures that go thousands of feet down below the pyramids." And literally, like, I'm actually gonna, if I can find it, the article is hilarious, or this interview is hilarious because it's, of course, it's some Jewish broad, but structure under pyramids. Oh, pops right up for you. Where is the interview with the supposed scientist? Oh, side projects. This guy, I got it. That guy, I hate that fucking guy. Wow, they are. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Listen to how dumb this works out to be. History says people finding death
At Wayfair, we bring style to every
through poverty didn't have clean water to drink. Yeah, history tells you lots of shit that's not true.
story that is making headlines around the world, an unprecedented, albeit controversial,
8 months
new
ago.
discovery is shedding light on a mystery that dates back millennia, many millennia. Italian and Scottish researchers, mainly from the University of Pisa, conducted advanced high-frequency radar mapping under Egypt's famous pyramids. They claim to have discovered wells, caverns, and shafts that are more than 2,000 feet underground. If accurate, it changes the face of history as we know it. Here to talk more about
right there, you would think, wait, what? Why isn't there a full-scale fucking invasion into Egypt saying you cannot keep us from our history? This is not your history. This is all of our history. We need to know what's going on here. We're going to look into it. How come that doesn't happen? But here, let's find out from some expert.
It is Dr. Galit Ben Tovel, an Egyptologist and author of the book
Galit Ben Tovel. So this is the expert. Galit Ben Tovel is the expert that they choose to bring on here. And listen to how super smart this expert sounds and how unrehearsed this interview sounds.
I am really great to be here. So this is very exciting. We've done a lot of stories in the past, about Egypt, but this is something that you couldn't really make up. But the fact is, it's an interesting scientific study, yet it is controversial. So explain what they discovered and why it's controversial.
So what they discovered, basically, they sent some pictures coming from a satellite from space.
Okay, wait. If you get a chance, talking of war, try check my story on Facebook. I posted my acquaintance the week last go play. She is knocked out of the park on the wall. Terrible. All right, listen to how stupid this chick sounds. She's an Egyptologist and author of the Messiah Code. This is the chick. This is the unbiased scientific opinion that they're going to announce this story to the world with.
Looking at the surface underground, the main.
You got to listen to how stupid this woman is.
Basically, they sent some pictures coming from the satellite from space, looking at the surface underground, the main pyramid of Giza, the pyramid of the king of Pharaoh Khufu. Now we know back till now that this pyramid, was dated to 2600 BC.
We know that.
And what the archaeologists wanted to discover is we have something beneath the soil, beneath the ground of this pyramid.
She sounds super smart.
So with a technology that I cannot explain because I'm not specializing in this kind of technology, they managed.
A technology that I cannot explain because I'm not specializing in this kind of technology. So why the fuck are you here? Why of all the people that they could be interviewing right now, do they have your dumb ass I do not know this because I am not specialized in this specific check. What the fuck are we talking about here? This would be having me come on there and be like, yeah, I'm an expert. I know stuff. Do you realize how fucking stupid this is? And it's presented as it's like this authority, you know, that she's an authority, she's this expert, and she says, I don't know. The one specific thing that I need to know to be for this interview, I don't know it. There seriously wasn't a single better person that they could have brought on here that would have had some sort of knowledge of the pictures from space. They are presenting pictures from a space that look underneath the ground. Yeah, that's literally what she just said. She introduced that. You're supposed to be here to elaborate on that shit.
To get some data from the infrastructure that is beneath the soil, beneath the pyramid. So with a technology that I cannot explain because I'm not specializing in this kind of technology, they managed to get some data from the infrastructure that is beneath the soil, beneath the ground. And what they discover is if you want spiral hallways, I don't know how many of them.
I don't know.
But that could lead maybe to an hypothetical.
So, another thing that she doesn't know. Yeah, I know I was coming here for this interview. And you know, I know you were going to ask me some questions, and apparently you already have like diagrams and shit made. Who threw together these animations? Isn't that strange? Did she bring the animations with her? Or did they were just like, "Oh, here, let our computer guy throw together this shit real quick." And I mean, think about this. They have a lot of these animations. And yet this dumb broad that's here didn't bother to even ask, "Hey, how many tubes are there?"
It is a thesis that maybe we have there an ancient technology.
Wow. Well, people have said this for years that the Egyptians, knew something. I mean, we know that the pyramids are said to be aiming toward the Orion belt. So we know that they had things that that predated modern man. So
we know that they had things that predated modern man.
What kind of fucking statement is that? You sound like a goddamn moron.
You understand that everything from the past are things that predate modern man? She literally just said that. We know that they had things that predate modern man.
Thank you for that infinite wisdom.
Wow, that's whoa. Between the two of these chicks, obviously this is a serious story, right? You'd think it would be a pretty if it rewrites the history books, you'd think it would be a pretty serious story.
How do they explain it? Because they've made AI, they've made renderings, and you're seeing cylinders and Q. It looks like a battery or a generator or some kind of, solar energy.
Like an ancient generator. But we have to say that they reconstructed from the data that they collected from the photographs that they had from the satellite from space. So the reconstruction
Yeah,
of the 3D
that's what we're saying.
AI and all the newest technology that we have, it doesn't mean that this is exactly what they saw. It means that the AI, the intelligence, reconstructed, what they think they saw beneath the soil. But I have to say that the pyramid
Listen,
and
she's
the
gonna
mystery
do it.
of the pyramid, why they were built, some scholars will say that they were meant to be for tombs, the tombs of the first pharaohs. But many years, I think for the last years, people are starting to doubt that. Whether it was really the purpose of tomb, or maybe the tomb was maybe a secondary use, or maybe not at all.
A secondary.
And why is that? Also because the pyramid themselves, not only because they were pointed to the stars, but they were covered, especially the top part of the pyramid was covered with gold.
Really?
So when we think about the solar energy of today, how we are using the solar energy, to heat and to do many things, it's a whole energy. So maybe the ancient Egyptian, used the same energy. Now,
Listen.
If
Listen.
She sounds a lot more
we
intelligent.
Wait.
are willing
What?
to think that the ancient civilization were not so primitive, and maybe they knew things that we also are discovering them today, and maybe the history is not a linear history, but goes more in how we call it spiral
right.
history. So maybe this ancient civilization, whether it was the ancient Egyptian or even a prior civilization to the ancient Egyptian, used the solar energy or a different kind of energy that we are not aware of it today. We have to open this question.
Right. All right, we have 20 seconds. Say
20
quickly,
seconds.
because the meaning of the word pyramid.
Say one more
The
thing.
meaning of the word pyramid in ancient
Okay.
Egyptian.
Wait. Did you see that? She said, okay, so we have 20 seconds. So you were supposed to say that thing about the meaning? You know, because this is a completely spontaneous interview.
Yeah.
The host had to remind her to say the thing that she was there to say. Watch.
Have to open this question.
Right. All right, we have 20 seconds. Say quickly, because the meaning of the word pyramid.
Okay, the meaning
Oh,
of the
yeah,
word pyramid
okay.
in ancient Egyptian means the pillar.
Wow.
The peeler.
If it's
Wow.
the pillar, when we see the shape of
Listen,
a pyramid,
listen.
we don't see a pillar. We see a shape of a pyramid.
And
So
the
where is
pillars.
the pillar? So if it was for technology, maybe it was a kind of, if you want, a pillar of light, a pillar of fire, and maybe this is the pillar of fire from the story of Exodus.
Wow. Okay, that'll be saved for another day.
The ancient
You see that?
Egyptians followed a
Do you
biblical
see?
story that occurred after. Oh my God!
Do you see how they? Okay, so that was 4 minutes 50 seconds. So within 5 minutes, she turns it into a Jewish thing, because that's what they all do. The pillar of fire from Exodus. You know, that completely nonsensical, impossible story that is essential to Judaism. Without Exodus, you don't have Judaism. But according to all modern scholars and everyone with a half a fucking brain, the idea of 2 million Jews wandering the desert for 40 years is ludicrous. They even accounted for me, the smartass, going, well, what the fuck did they eat? Oh, yeah, they ate manna, a magical tar-like substance that appeared on the desert floor every day, and it had to be harvested and eaten that day because it would go bad within 24 hours. Unless, of course, it was the Sabbath, when you're not allowed to work on the Sabbath. So that manna would last for 48 hours. And manna is this tar-like sticky substance. That's all they ate for 40 years. Maybe that's why their food's so terrible. I'm telling you, you gotta look at Old London Bridge. Shit's crazy. I couldn't get very far into Jesus narrative because it's so insane. There's just so many deviations and so many. Look at how much of the Jesus is blue. Look at how much of that shit is blue. How many other things you can click on to be able to get more information, to go deeper into the rabbit hole. Every single sentence has something new. Accounts of Jesus' life are contained in the Gospels, especially the 4 canonical Gospels in the New Testament. Since the Enlightenment, academic research has yielded various views on the historical reliability of the Gospels and how closely they reflect the historical Jesus.
Oh my God!
Look at that. That's not a very nice picture. And you know, all of that shit is extremely symbolic. There's literally everything in that. Oh, this is the Christ
Yeah, we have that.
Pantocrator of St. Catherine's Monastery at Mount Sinai, 6th century AD. Mount Sinai. You know, the Jewish place. According to the Christian tradition, as preserved in the Gospels and the Acts of the Apostles, Jesus was circumcised at 8 days old, like they all are. Because, again, Jesus was a Jewish guy. Like, how does this fact get ignored all the time?
This is your spot. It's your spot.
Was
No.
baptized by John the Baptist as a young adult, and after 40 days and nights of fasting in the wilderness, began his own ministry. Another one of these things, right? Another 40. Why was the 40 so significant?
You were sleeping next to him this morning.
Put the pillow down. Did he pour out some, like, part of his 40 for his friends, for his dead homies? Is that where that shit came from? So, he's baptized at 8 days old by John the Baptist. Wait. Was circumcised at 8 days old. Was baptized by John the Baptist as a young adult. And after 40 days and nights of fasting in the wilderness, his own ministry. Wait, I thought he was like disappeared at like age 12. Gone from 12 to 32. Isn't that the narrative?
I get so confused. It's all such bullshit. It all contradicts itself. It makes no sense, and it's confusing, and I don't like it.
He was an itinerant. What's an is that itinerant? Am I?
Where?
So.
Itinerant.
Meaning?
I'm not sure. Scheduler, perhaps?
Itinerant teacher, also called visiting or peripatetic teacher, are traveling school teachers. Oh, they are sometimes specialized in the work in the trades, healthcare, or the field of special education, sometimes providing individual tutoring. So some guy just comes out of nowhere and he's like, hey,
I'll teach your kids.
let me teach your kids a little something. And people are like, okay, it sounds like a good idea.
I didn't want to teach those bastards.
It's kind of snowy out.
Yeah, I know.
People's egos don't like to admit they're wrong and they don't know everything. Sadly, people will deny Jesus is a Jew from cognitive dissonance. I think My Lunch Break did a video about the Egyptian dam, one of his best videos. The thing is, why doesn't My Lunch Break or Lucius, why don't they ever do a video on Jesus?
Fuck that guy.
No, they all believe in him. That's the fucking problem. That's why I can't stand watching those guys. I love their videos and I love what they produce, but there's just too much avoidance. Well, and it's avoidance. They avoid the right. Like you're so huge into everything is a lie. We're lied to about this, that, and the others, and then it's like, but then there's
But you want to believe this one. This is a good lie. Oh, but this one isn't a lie. You're saying everything else is a lie, but not this.
So he was an itinerant teacher who interpreted the law of God with divine authority, as he was often referred to as rabbi. What is going on?
I can't yank this kind. It's too slimy and weird.
Like, seriously, how is it that I have such a hard time with this argument with people? He interpreted the law of God. Where did he get that from?
They want to hang on to their roots and their traditions and their beliefs. They want to, that's why.
Okay, well, Jesus often debated with his fellow Jews, gaining that life and in sustaining their lives by finding food, finding clothing, doing all that shit. They're sitting around arguing with other people about how to best follow God. What sort of insanity is that?
Well, maybe they pay people to get their food. Maybe they just slaughtered a bull and they have food for the next 2 months.
How? So let's say that's true. So first of all, then they have to be extremely good at not just slaughter, but then the preservation of that.
Salt.
And we're talking about the desert. So that shit had to be quick. They had to get that shit quick. So wherever they had their unlimited supply of salt come from, because salt was expensive back then, they had this unlimited supply of salt that they quickly chopped up the bull into slices and then salted it real quick and then put it in their meat store. Come on. And then as soon as they got done with that, they were like, all right, back to the philosophy. How to best follow God. It's stupid. It's not feasible. If the fucking grid goes down and we are all forced into this survival situation where there is no food at the grocery stores and and it's been now like 2 months. It's not like it's a week where we're all like, okay, well, pantry's getting a little light, but no, it's been months. What do you think? People are going to be sitting there trying to argue about how to best follow God? Or are they going to be trying to fucking eat? It's such a ridiculous concept. It's such a ridiculous belief, especially when you consider that these people were just so primitive. In some regards, obviously, where they would do their scholarly researching and debating were these huge monumental structures that still exist to this day. But then they would go home ride their horses home to their little thatch roof house and eat some boiled potatoes by candlelight, sleeping in their little hay beds full of ticks and mice and shit. Because, life was so difficult back then. Get up in the morning, put on those same clothes he's been wearing for 2 fucking years. The Shakespearean uniform with the tights up to his knees and shit like that, and the little shiny buckles on his shoes. Oh, he's got little buckles on his shoes. Oh, don't forget your powdered wig, honey. I never do, dear. Let me get on my horse. Hey, it is December. It looks like this outside. I bet that horse is cold. Oh, well, let me go. Whoa. Let me just I'm going to park my horse at the horse park while I go into my big giant fucking cathedral so I can worship all day. Sure hope there's 15 gallons of water here for my horse to drink. Hope somebody's ready to pick up the 10 pounds of shit my horse is going to drop throughout the day. It's fucking insane. It's just so goddamn ridiculous. And my lunch break is really big. Like the Donkey's Inc. thing is I love it. I use it all the time. He seems right in line with this line of thinking. Like he says some of the same shit, not all of it, but some of it. And then when it comes to like angels and Jesus and stuff, he believes it. What the fuck is going on? Jesus often debated with his fellow how to best follow God, engaged in healings, taught in the parables, and gathered followers, among whom 12 were appointed as his apostles. So yet again, like this story is neat and all, but what do you mean? At his Jesus house, what house did he live in? Did all of these followers stay at his house? And how were they all eating every day? And as his following got bigger and bigger, how did all those people eat? Because I know the one day that they apparently couldn't feed themselves. And they were like, hey, JC, can you throw us a little help here? And Jesus was like, all right, apostles, you eat those 2 fish and those bread, and then put the crust in the basket and the fish remains in the basket. And after you're done eating, place the basket over there, and then everybody else can eat from it.
Close your eyes first.
No, that's not what happened. You don't even hear that Jesus made 2 fish into a lot of fish, or made 2 loaves into a lot of loaves. You hear that everybody ate from that basket of scraps. That's it. That's the only narrative we're given. So I don't know what happened. Were there more scraps? Did they each like fill up really easily off the meager little piece they get?
So this is a great example. So a priest is going to read this in a Sunday service or Wednesday night service or whatever you do, and he's going to fill in that little gap.
Yep.
He is going to give you the in between details that are not laid out for us, and no way to back up anything he said. But that's what. So then you're gonna get this story stuck in your head with his little detail twist in there.
And Jesus was a dick about it. Jesus wasn't happy about it. He was pissed.
And then you're gonna.
He was like, they can eat from the scraps. Just let them.
So fucked up.
Right. So what's even more fucked up is
That's just
the next day they wake up and Jesus is gone because he's pissed. Because he's worried that they're going to be reliant on him to feed them from now on.
Oh, great. They're just going to ask every time they need something.
Right. So he bounces. That's the fucking, is that the part of the story that you heard before?
No.
Did you hear that Jesus made 2 fish and 2 loaves into lots of fish and lots of loaves and everybody had a good time and that was that?
No.
That's the story you heard. The real story, where Jesus was all pissed off and was like, fuck them, they can eat from the scraps, and then bounced the next day. You didn't hear that bullshit. But this is, like she said, the preacher, because somehow, like, I think all of the sermons are just, they all have access to them. I don't know how they did it before. Maybe they got them at the Bible store. I don't know.
I mean, no.
But nowadays they have the internet and they just look it up. And maybe they put their little spin on it a little bit. But all those connections, like you go from this section to this section, back to this section, they didn't just happen to figure that out one day. They weren't just reading it and they were like, oh shit, this section reminds me of another section, 25 pages from now. And then this and then, like, that's not how it works. They get all of that from the core source that tells them this is what you preach. That's why when you try to like catch them outside of that position where they're playing their role, they're not out there religious scholars debating people and crushing people with their knowledge.
Oh, no.
No, they know their speech each week. They spend the week memorizing the basic points of what they're going to say. Anytime they sort of forget something, they look at their little note sheet. They put a bunch of fucking theatrics in there and hot and sweaty, and especially in the black community, they make it this big fucking show. Not even especially in the black community. I mean, it is in the black community, but you go down south, those Baptists are fucking nuts. The Pentecostals all speaking in tongues and shit, they're fucking nuts.
Totally loony.
You know
You know what I just said there? I don't know either.
I don't know either, but everybody's like, oh my God, that was so awesome. I can't believe you just said that. Oh,
Jesus made me say it. Didn't
the
it
spirit.
sound cool?
If I'd fall on let me fall on the floor and flop all around. And, oh, I got the Holy Ghost. I got the Holy Ghost.
At what point do you think it's the Holy Ghost? And what if they're having a seizure and you mistake it for the Holy Ghost? Did you just kill them?
No, Jesus killed them. It was their time.
Oh.
Jesus wanted them to come home.
Because, in that setting, if
The
somebody
Pentecostals are the ones that snitch shit and they speak in tongues and shit. They're insane. It's the Pentecostals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. They're nuts. But
right.
Right? Like,
Right.
the Jews cut
They're
and
all
suck baby penises as part of their main ritual. Like, where do you draw that line? Christians have all these rituals all the time where they metaphorically eat his fucking body and drink his blood. Like, what kind of sick shit is that?
Share a cup. Okay, so this is the other thing.
The herpes cup.
I always wondered. So if like back in those times, the biggest fear was sickness spreading because they didn't have a way to contain it properly like we do, right? That's what we're taught. Yet we are pushed to all share a cup and to eat food out of the same man's hands who's not washing his hands in between each person's mouth.
Let me ask you this. How did more than half of those people even fucking see? They didn't have glasses. You know,
So
without glasses, without contacts. Think about any of you that actually wear glasses and you hate it, whatever, you wear it. Think about if you didn't have those, how would you get around? So many of you are like fucking, you're pretty blind.
visually impaired, sweetheart.
You're
the PC trait.
You're pretty blind. I could walk up and hit you in the face before you realize, hey, what's that brown dot?
It's visually impaired. You're gonna get in trouble.
Think about how insane that is. Think about, spectacles, glasses. These are like, I don't remember, the 15s or 14s or some shit. I mean, I know like what's his name? Cornelius Drebbel had something to do with it in the 1600s. So, but eyeglasses and shit, these aren't as old as you think. So we're talking about all these biblical people. So many of them are like, 800 years old. And the thing is, in your head, you think that must mean they must have looked 30 for like 300 years, right? But that's not the case. There are lots of accounts of them being like, I'm 90 years old. How could I possibly have a baby? Look how old I am. So they aged normally and then just kept living. Can you imagine how shit they looked at 900 years old? They were just puddles. I just pooped on myself again.
Puddles. That's not nice.
They got the holy full of shit. I've always said that sounds like cannibalism. It's disgusting. It's insane. It's all insane. And you just wonder, none of those people have seen anything to make them believe that, other than maybe like somebody's like, hey, I prayed for something really good to happen, and then something really good happened. So that's evidence of Jesus. I mean, understand that last year when they had that TikTok apocalypse going on.
Oh God, yeah, that was a year ago already. Wow.
No, that was a few months ago. September-ish or something. Yeah, September 23rd, I believe it was. People were selling off their stuff because they were convinced that the apocalypse was going to happen, because some random, goofy ass televangelist style preacher in Africa had a fucking dream. He had a dream about the shit. And then went on, this isn't the guy that people all over the world are like, oh, he's the prophet, he's this guy, he's that guy. He's a nobody. He's just a nobody, low-level fucking, African scammer pushing Christian bullshit in Africa. What a motherfucking piece of shit he has to be. But he's nobody. Nobody ever knew who the fuck that guy was. Suddenly he has this dream and talks about it on a Facebook feed or a social media post. And people around the world suddenly give a shit about this fucking guy and start selling their shit. That's how desperate they are for their lives to be over, that they're willing to believe this kind of insanity.
Yeah. Yes.
Then again, you know what? What if you had a bunch of garbage you just wanted to sell? and you were like, hey, I want to sell all this shit. What's the best way to do it? Oh, yeah, I know. I'll tell people I'm selling it for this. And then you just had people come buy all your trash. That's a great idea.
I mean,
A lot of them were giving away shit, though, too. Not just selling it. Because selling it, what's the point of selling it? You believe it's going to end, right? So what do you care?
well, no, because that was my question. I think it was Precious put that question, and I was like, well, why are they bothering selling it? Because if it's the apocalypse, they have no need for money. And she said, it's because
God
just
likes
in
it when you have
case-
money.
No, just in case it doesn't happen.
Well,
for
that's not
whatever
faith, is
reason.
it?
Well, it's because we don't know what God's ultimate plan is. We're being arrogant thinking we know. We could try to prepare for things, but there's no way for us to know what God's plan is. So you do have to at least, if you have families and stuff, cover your butt, I guess. Oh, it's hilarious.
It's insanity. It's so crazy because if I were to say I found some random Mayan, text
You'd be
that
scrutinized
that I deciphered that says the world is gonna end on February 31st, 2026, and I'm gonna sell all my shit, hey, my family, my kids, I know that's crazy, but I believe this, so come on, family, come on, wife, we're gonna do this together. Okay, kids, you gotta do this with me. Come on, let's do this. It just popped in my head is that stupid, fucking horrible, stupid fucking movie, Venom Last Dance. And the goddamn, how the fuck do you have your kids? Don't they have school? Hasn't it? Aren't the authorities looking for you? Not having your kids in school, driving around the country in your van, looking for aliens. That movie was so fucking bad. I don't even mean to switch subjects here, but Jesus Christ, have you seen that movie? Did you see what they did to such a belovedly, wicked character? And they made Venom the Last Dance, where he's literally dancing. He's gonna risk all the loss of life and everything that comes from him being detected, so he can have a dance, one last dance with Mrs. Tu Wong Fu, because she just happened to be in. Do you know what the chances of you running into somebody in Vegas are? It's astra fucking nomical. And oh god, that movie is so bad. It was so bad, my kids and I were just laughing at it because even they were pointing out stupid shit. It was so fucking bad.
I tried.
No, we
Give it a
get
chance.
you. Yeah, she sat there and watched the whole thing. We all watched it. It was. That's what at least made it entertaining, was how bad it was. Because if it wasn't so bad we were ripping it apart, it would have just been unbearably stupid.
Just that.
The family just sneaks into Area 51. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happened.
Really? Well, it's because they were decommissioning it. Shut up. Just shut the fuck up. Oh, it's such a terrible fucking movie. If you're watching, by the way, like, share, and sub, help out. Really does help, I guess, maybe. I mean, as always, I have more likes than I do viewers, which is, normal, right? Everybody has that. 25 subscribers, 2,500 subscribers, 5 viewers, and 9 likes. Talking about the number one story in the world most of the time. Somebody, I saw this thing where this guy was saying that over 1 billion different social media accounts have posted something about what's going on with Palestine and how wrong it is. And he was saying there's nothing in the history of man that's ever been such a unifier. That's no cause has ever been so universally and so trackably demonstratively, it's never existed like that before across the world, and yet
still not making a difference.
over 1 billion people.
Yet it's still happening, and that hasn't changed a motherfucking thing.
It's really kind of scary because she's right. I mean, maybe it would have been worse, but I really don't see how it could have been. You know, I don't. I think if they wanted to do the quick kill, they would have done that 70 years ago. I use this reference all the time, but if you own a fucking a herd of cow and you suddenly decide you want a hamburger, you're not going to slaughter all of your cow to have a hamburger. You're going to, you're going to slaughter the one cow as, and then eat off that, but whatever. But you want to have a perpetual amount of cows to fill that need. So in 6 months, in a year, in 10 years, 20 years, you have enough cows to fill that hamburger need. And I believe, what's been documented thoroughly in the narrative that they give us, whether it's true or not is up for debate, but it is what they want us to know, that blood libel, you hear it all the time. Netanyahu uses it all the time. You can't say that. That's blood libel. That's blood libel. You can't say that. But it's just like anti-Semitism was hijacked by them. It means something completely different than it's presented as. It's something you should be proud of. Anti-Semitism means anti-supremacy because Semitism means policy or predisposition favorable to Jews. Like, understand that anti-Semitism was initially a rallying cry. And they took it over. They hijacked it. Just like conspiracy theory. They hijacked it and they use it to their advantage. And blood libel is another one, where blood libel means the capturing of children, mainly Christian children, but children, and draining their blood and using their blood for your rituals while you dispose of the body in an area where it's meant to be found, so that you also create the fear and whatnot that exists. What's up, Mary? It's so much worse than you think it is. And all they did was hijack it. And now if you say something, Netanyahu's like, oh, that's blood libel. And so people don't realize what that term actually means. You understand how often we look into something just completely blind? We go into it, some new direction, something comes up. I had no idea I would look up Jesus, and the first thing it would say was Jesus was a first century Jewish preacher. I mean, I always knew he was a Jewish carpenter, but not a Jewish preacher.
Well, the fact that they keep calling him a Jewish anything is funny to me. Of course he was a Jew. It was before Christianity because he was Jesus Christ. Like, why do people...
Well, no, because there was a lot of non-Jews out there. He was specifically... It's them putting their mark on it. Don't you understand that he is a Jew for a reason? You, at the end of the day, worship a Jew. Whether he was real or not doesn't matter. In your head, you know that your guy was this. And guess who's committing genocide right now? And you should be speaking out against it. You would be speaking out against it in any other form. But for some reason, you get shut down with this one. And you fall for it. It's almost like you feel like guilty for doing it. Well, that's what the programming's for.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's fucking insane.
This is disgusting, man. This is fucking disgusting.
I agree.
All right, blah, blah, blah. 12. So he was arrested in Jerusalem and tried by the Jewish authorities, handed over to the Roman government, and crucified on the order of Pontius Pilate, the Roman perfect of Judea, or prefect? Yeah, it's prefect, sorry. Prefect of Judea. After his death, his followers became convinced that he rose from the dead, and that the community they formed eventually became the early Christian church that expanded as a worldwide movement. That just doesn't make any sense. How do you convince a whole population to do anything without any evidence whatsoever? Like, isn't that strange? I'm convinced you could agree on everything with man. He's trying to go off and go fuck yourself. How's that? Yeah, I go off on you all the time, James, don't I? When you agree with me, or even when you contradict me, I go off on you, don't I, James? Don't I, Mary? Don't I go off on you guys all the time, even when you agree with me?
Such a dick.
I know. I love those kind of cowardly statements because look, he took the time to write that whole thing out. Instead of focusing on any in particular thing that I'm wrong about, he's trying to cast this shadow, shoot the messenger, because he knows he can't argue anything I'm saying. Every time I'm here and try to talk to you normally, bro, that's all you do. Yeah, that's all I do. You must be special. Christian theology includes the beliefs that Jesus was conceived by the Holy Spirit, was born of a virgin named Mary, performed miracles, founded the Christian church. He founded the Christian church?
There was no church in the time of Jesus. That's why it's not mentioned in the Bible.
Died by crucifixion as a sacrifice to achieve atonement for sin, rose from the dead on the third day, and ascended into heaven from where he will return. So, why did his body need to rise from the dead for him to ascend into heaven? I was kind of stuck on that. And then the whole atonement for sin. The atonement for sin thing is just silly. What?
For us to be able to witness it, bear witness to it.
We didn't see it though. There was no witness. It's just as easy that the body could have been stolen. How were they moving those big rocks around back then?
Donkeys.
Donkeys. My bad. Oh, commonly Christians believe Jesus enables people to be reconciled to God. Believes people to be reconciled to God. The Nietzsche Creed asserts that Jesus will judge the living and the dead, either before or after their bodily resurrection, an event tied to the second coming of Jesus in the Christian eschatology. What is this word?
Where? Eschatology? Eschatology?
Okay, thanks. Eschatology. Yeah. I love when she does that because I feel dumb when I don't know the words, but then when she doesn't, it's like, okay. The great majority of Christians worship Jesus as the incarnation of God the Son, the second of three persons of the Trinity. The birth of Jesus is celebrated annually, generally on December 25th, as Christmas. His crucifixion is honored as Good Friday. Seems like a weird thing to call the day Jesus was killed.
Woo! Today is a good day.
It's Good Friday, baby. Woo!
Thank you for dying.
Thank you for dying. That shit looks pretty painful.
Not only did he die, but he was like hung by his
First we cut him,
wrists and his ankles.
then we stab him, then we shoot him, and then we hang him.
Yeah.
I say we let him go. No! I say you let me have him first. Oh, it's so stupid. But no, and see, there's that other part where the crucifixion is supposedly, because people get the stigmata in the hands. Well, it doesn't work. His body, through the hands, wouldn't support the weight. and eventually he would fall off. Yeah.
No, that shit don't make sense.
Right. It would have to be through the wrists, but they don't say that.
Wrists and ankles.
Right. It would have to. Well, I don't even know how you would begin to drive stakes through someone's.
Well, there's two bones that go down there. You get in between the bones.
Yeah, sure. Ugh. Such disgusting.
Disgusting brutality.
Right, just such awful. Like, but that's what it's supposed to elicit a response. It's supposed to make you go, oh, poor Jesus. Oh, him died. Him got it real bad. The great majority of his crucifixion is honored as on Good Friday and his resurrection on Easter Sunday. The world's most widely used calendar era, which is the current year is AD 2025, is based on the approximate date of the birth of Jesus. Yeah, again, are we going to attribute that to Dionysus? Let's see what this says. I should be done by now. I'm really exhausted. Apparently, I'm talking to one person with 10 likes. And this is stupid, but I like learning this stuff. And I figure if I'm going to learn it, at least I'll put it out there and maybe somebody will see it. Although, again, apparently there's only one person. This is the Nativity by Robert Campin, circa 1420, depicting the birth of Jesus during the spring. Why does everybody always in these olden times walk around like this? The most painful position I ever had. God, this is stupid. But hey, you know what? Look what's in the background. Like, I know, this isn't actual 2,000 years ago. But that's what's depicted in 1420. In 1420, all these castles and shit. Who built that shit? Who built these? Whose castles are these on the tops of the mountains over here? And then we have this little town, Bob Ross picturesque town. When the sailboats, just sailing on the boats, just sailing on the boats and sailing on the boats. The birth of Jesus is not stated in the Gospels or in any historical sources, and the evidence is too incomplete to allow for consistent dating. Let me read that again.
Some say July, some say spring.
The date of the birth of Jesus is not stated in the Gospels or in any historical sources, and the evidence is too incomplete to allow for consistent dating. And you believe it, right? I'm crazy because I don't just believe these narratives. No, this is the best part. You know what I love? The next word. What do you think the next word is? Holy shit. That big gust just shook the house. You could hear it coming. That was weird. There you go is somehow you gotta... I'm gonna share this with you, Mary. You got a symbol for that one, Mary. Whatever you did earned a symbol. However,
Gotta love those
however, most biblical scholars and ancient historians believe that his birth date is around 6 to 4 BC. There's no account of it.
But they're educated guess, because they're scholars.
Well, two main approaches
Did
have been...
miss that word?
Shut your girl mouth. You need to be churning
They
butter.
are scholars.
Churn butter.
I already did. It's in the fridge.
I did it, actually.
Well, no,
we did it.
Both.
Yeah, we did it. But anyway, two main approaches have been used to estimate the year of the birth of Jesus. One, based on the accounts in the Gospels of his birth with reference to King Herod's reign, but his birth wasn't mentioned in the Gospels. and the other by subtracting his stated age of about 30 years when he began preaching. Oh, there's just so much. I could just keep going.
Right.
Judaism reflects the belief that Jesus was the awaited Messiah, arguing that he did not fulfill Masonic prophecies, was not lawfully anointed, and was neither divine nor resurrected. In contrast, Jesus in Islam is considered the Messiah and a prophet of God who was sent to the Israelites and will return to earth before the day of judgment. Muslims believe Jesus was born of the Virgin Mary, but was neither God nor Son of God. Most Muslims do not believe that he was killed or crucified, but that God raised him into heaven while he was still alive. Jesus is also revered by the Bahari and the Druze faith, as well as Rastafaris. Man, those dirty, awful, horrible Muslims, huh? You notice how they skipped over the Jesus part? Right? They skipped over the what do the Jews think about Jesus again?
He was just
Just a guy.
just a guy. He wasn't-
But what happened to him afterward? Where is he now?
He fucking died.
He died, but he's also, like burning in hell for all of eternity, kind of.
Mainly because he wasn't a Jew. I need to go with the things.
All right, I gotta go. I'm done. I'm so fascinated by all this. I'm so glad you guys are on this road with me, and we're on this journey, and we're gonna keep going. But I am fucking exhausted. I can't believe I was on here for this long. I hope you guys have a great day. I didn't mean to be on here this long. I didn't want to be. It's so fascinating. I just love learning about it, and I love knowing that if I ever talk to a Christian who has the balls to actually engage with me, that boy are they in for a treat now. It was bad before, now it's a different level. So go check out all the links that'll be in the description after I upload it.
It's not. It wouldn't be bad. It
It's
would be
not there now.
enlightening. Not bad. Enlightening, sweetheart. It will not be bad for them.
Oh no, it'll be bad for them. Being bad for you is not a bad thing. Sometimes things have to be bad for you to see what it is. Sometimes you have to, you can tap somebody on the shoulder all you want. Sometimes you have to smack them upside the head with the shovel to get them to pay attention. It's the truth. And hopefully we don't have to get to the shovel smacking point, but it's right here, you guys. You have to see it for what it is. If I was wrong, then I would be reading this and just be humbled and enlightened by it and, all this other shit. Instead, if you still have the same opinions of this shit that you had prior to, you still believe it just as strong, I would love to hear from you. It's weird how, as much as you have your faith and shit, I never seem to hear from you guys. All of you really strong, staunch believers, you always are so quiet. Why? Anyway, have yourself a great day. Go check out this stuff in the... we got some schizo babble. Yep. Must be a dumb friar. I don't know. I guess reading the Bible and this Jesus stuff is schizo babble. That's for damn sure. Like, I don't know how anybody can think of it other than just fake friar, Jewish propaganda bullshit. It's really, that's all it is. They don't even hide it. They seem to acknowledge it quite a bit, actually. How many different times did they say Jesus was a Jewish this or Jewish that? It's right there. It's all for you, And the fact I'm right because you get these dumb friars that come in here and talk their shit. Again, always trying to shoot the messenger and not actually talk about what's going on. Their sole weapon is ad hominem. And that's like, giveaway 101, right? So have yourself a great day. Go check that shit out. Antiseptic. No. Anti-Semitism. Proud of the anti-Semitism. Get that right. Semitism is policy or predisposition favorable to Jews. I'm against anyone having favor in any sort of context. That's fucking ridiculous. When you're saying Semitic, the Palestinians are the Semitic people. So I proudly support the Semitic people in this argument. The Palestinians being the only Semitic people in the argument. So, please, thank you for providing this last little stepping point, last little bit of stupidity provided by a predictable friar to drive that point home that much more. So thank you. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and most importantly, you pedophiles, you kill yourself.